Okay, lunch is over. Please be seated, everybody. Welcome. The time did go fast. Libcom, you were so close, like milliseconds apart. But Abby, somehow, from all the way across the pond, squeezed in just one hair ahead of you. And Abby, for I believe this is the fourth time, is now the proud owner of the internet. It was so close. It was a photo finish. I really had to go back and watch the replay myself to see how it happened. But congratulations, Abby. I'm sure that if Abby, and for some reason is not able to take over her duties, Libcom will have you on deck for that as well. Let's see. So the timer that's going, that's when the judge said he'd be back in the courtroom, or when he told everyone to be back. So we're anticipating that's what it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and clear that off my screen because I can't show chat when that is on the screen. I can only have two, what's called overlays at a time. So there we go. So now Abby can be shown up there. Debbie says, I'm very glad Recovery Addict sent out the notification. I was listening to Journey with Steve Perry. Yeah, sorry to interrupt that. That's some good stuff. Hello from windy Ocala. Lori, yeah, a little bit of wind coming your way. Welcome back, everyone, with hugs, of course. Let's see. Abby actually has, as is her right, she has surrendered her right to the internet and is going to turn it over to you to Libcom for that. So we'll recall the postage or recall the package and reroute it to you instead. It should be delivered pretty quickly. With as much as we pay for shipping, it's almost instantaneous. But congratulations on your ownership of the internet and all things web related. Looks like you've been sworn in as well, so really we're ready to go. Abby says, "Is your PC okay now?" I was just looking at that. I was typing. I think I was typing the. Oh man, I'm giving you some bitrate errors. It is okay right now. YouTube is saying. It doesn't like how much data I'm sending. It says the stream's current bit rate, 4,525 kbps, is lower than the recommended, and they recommend 4,500, which is lower than what they say my current rate is. So the warning does not make sense, but it looks good on my end. The keyboard, on the other hand, Abby, back to your question, the B key is getting very belligerent and requires multiple pushes to function properly. Other than that, N, H, G, and 9 has actually come back. So we have a light underneath 9 now. So just G, H, and N keys are the only ones that do not light up anymore. But they all function just fine when typing. So I don't know. I don't recommend washing your computer keyboards while in use, but it seems to have not done too much harm to my computer, just for what it's worth. So thanks for asking, though. I'm really hopeful that this will continue working. I won't have to buy a new one because that would not be fun. Other than that, I really like buying electronics. I really, really like buying more electronics. See, avoid words with B in it. There's the simple answer. I mean, even if it does break, or even if it is no longer functional, we can't because break has a B in it, right? Someone grab BG from Canada. JB, I think you're talking about. JB, hello, welcome. Everyone in chat is saying hi to you. I know you can't see chat, so I just wanted to read that off to you. Glad you can be here as well. And send me a text, JB. Let me know how things are going. How's the weather up there? You haven't talked for a couple days. Let's see, I'm getting new internet the end of November, getting cable put in. Awesome. That's going to be wonderful. They just ran fiber internet in front of my house. And by in front of my house, they went right past my house. And I have had fiber internet directly to the house before at a previous residence, and it was amazing. It was amazing. 1 terabyte symmetrical. For those of you that don't understand what that means, basically as fast as you can click, the internet is there. There's no buffering ever, anywhere. Google is the hang up. Their computers are slower than my internet. You know, it was amazing. It was unbelievable. Anything you wanted to upload or download, it was done as soon as you wished it. But now I'm on a much slower service that sometimes struggles here, but looks like we're doing okay right now. Let's see. Okay. Oh, Weather Watch is rubbing it in. I have fiber, and it is unreal. It is fast. I mean, what's faster than the speed of light? Really. Ethernet cable in. I'm just glad everyone's connected. I don't care if it's dial-up or whatever. You might be on AOL dial-up still, and that's fine as long as you're here and you can participate. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got just a few minutes. I show about 6 minutes on the clock. You're looking at the back of my head still because I haven't switched my camera around. Sorry about that. There we go. Dial up. You know, you were there, right? You guys remember? You remember hearing the sound of the modem connecting? And that little squelch sound is like you pick up the phone and you're like, hey, don't pick up the phone. I'm on the internet, right? Remember that? Yeah, we've all been there. Those were the days. We've come a long way since then. Can you imagine trying to stream video over dial-up? It would not happen. Not any resolution. It just would not happen. Logging into AOL sounded like a train crash taking place. Yeah, that was pretty much it. It brings back to cringe. Yeah, and then before that, before the AOL, I mean, do you remember the bulletin board pages? Like the predecessor to the internet, where you'd have to dial in directly to the server, and you'd connect at 2400 baud, and yeah, that goes way back. That's the first online games I played. I had to connect directly to someone else's computer to play a text-based game over an internet connection. That if anyone picked up the phone while I was on the computer, it dropped the connection. Amber's been triggered. Apparently, those were rough days for some of us. But wow, haven't we? Yeah, I could only stay online 1 hour, then I had to reboot. Oh no. Yeah, good times. Well, we're about to get back to the court case here in Florida with Matthew Terry. Matthew is accused of killing his girlfriend with a knife in the front yard. Now, this is like Clue. I'm reading the accusation in the game Clue. Oh, Amber says, Oregon Trail was my jam. I remember that. I played that in elementary school. I believe it was on an Apple computer when I played it. I might be wrong on that one. It might have been a PC, but I thought it was Apple, and it was a monochrome screen, and I always kept dying of dysentery or dysentery, whatever it was. But I could never get to the end. I did enjoy shooting the buffalo, though. Love your sound effects, green screens. Yep. Green screens they make the world go around. It makes it so you can't tell that I'm sitting in a room that was built and lined with burlap on the walls sometime early in the 1900s. But so I've got a green screen to cover up the burlap walls, which have been painted over about 600 times. Everyone died of dysentery. Yeah, that's it. And you could like walk off a leg break in Oregon Trail. It's like you limp for a few days and then you get better. Computers were massive, and the discs, the floppy disks, right? The 5 1/4 inch floppy disk, not the 3 or the 3 1/4 and the 5 1/2 inch, right? Not just the hard floppy disk, but the big floppy disk that you could punch a hole in the side to flip it over and write on the other side. Yeah, this is going to cause some flashbacks for some people. Anyway, yeah, those are fun. I'm glad we're here now with all the equipment we have now. I mean, this is quite different than what we would have had then. Just notice I still have the murder weapon here on the table that I'll have to put that away before something bad happens. I might cut a cable or something with this. So the mouse looks scared already. But anyway, floppy disks were on the school supply list. Yes, they were. You have to bring your own package of floppy disks. And what could they hold? Like 1.25 meg or something? It's like less than a single image from your camera phone. Yeah. Got my first computer in 92. Let's see, I think the first one I remember was a Franklin Apple II. It was like a knockoff of Apple. It was a Franklin computer. But it was sort of like a cheaper version of the Apple IIe. But you'd put the disc in and unload the game, and then you'd go and make your sandwich, and you'd come back, and it was almost unloading. But yep. Anyway, yay, we're back. The courtroom, we're going to bring this back here because we're seeing some motion. We're seeing some heads. We've got about a minute and a half, a minute and 3/4 here before we come back. Neon lettering on screen. Yep, you're watching. You're seeing it as I'm seeing it. Let me bring this here. We'll take it live here. I think we've got audio coming. I'll double check on my end because I have been known to make mistakes. Yep, we're up on our side. I'm not seeing a feed yet though. Okay, so Amiga. Yeah, you remember Commodore 64? Man, those color screens were just incredible. Playing Excite Bike on a Commodore 64. You guys are all old. I'm old too. But yeah. Okay, we're about to come back here to the trial. If anyone needs a quick refresher, can somebody type in chat just like a single sentence that sums up this court case? Basically, the accusation, who the different players are. Man, my internet is dropping on my iPad, and that's not good because that means I can't use my buttons. But at least we're on what we need right now. So. Let's see how prompt the judge is. I'll show about 26 seconds before he's due back on the bench. Okay, it's back up. It's restored. Okay. Kara says mine's dropping too. So we have a new internet owner today. Abby is the rightful owner, but she did surrender her duties to Libcom, who came in just a close second. So we did ship it off to Libcom. I do have a signed proof of delivery, so I know he is in possession of it. And any problems you have, just direct to him. So we should be good. Ann says, I'm late again. No, you just got here. It hasn't started. You haven't really missed anything. We were just saying hello and welcome everybody back. She's a brick house. We played that in... probably shouldn't say this. We played that at some basketball games, some college basketball games when people would miss. But yeah, neither here nor there. Let's see. Debbie says, I'm the first like. What do I win? We should have a prize for the first like. 23 people have followed you, though. So we've had quite a few likes, and they're starting to pick up. Judge is late. I'm showing just a minute late. I think I can put up the... No, I can't because then your chat will go away. Refresh fixes all. Yeah, I did notice some of you that are watching this watch it delayed. I'm not sure if you were like your stream buffered for a while and it started playing again. But some of you get off on the timing, which isn't a problem. But if you want to chat and you want to have people respond in a timely manner to your chat, you might want to just check the slider bar on your video and make sure it's all the way over, or the live button is clicked, is highlighted. Judge is back. About a minute and a half late, but it's good. Make sure that live button's highlighted. That just means you're up to the second with everything that's going on. You can relate to chat a little bit better that way. Chandra just parked her car. She's ready. Check the modem. And we're back. Yeah, I appreciate all the mods we've got in here. I know I'm going to cut some of you loose just to allow the chat to keep going without it. I think I've tried to explain this before, and I did it poorly then too. But I like everyone to be able to chat on an equal level. And when a mod chats, then it sort of comes across as like a highlighted chat. And I like to be able to highlight those, but the mods have a lot of work to do. And so I want to remove the work from some of the people so we can get more chats from them, if that makes sense. I feel a cough coming on, so here goes the mute button. There we go. I survived. It was close. Make everyone mods. What could go wrong? What could go wrong, Donna?
I'm going to be asking when we resume to admit State Exhibit 58, which is the stipulation. So once the jury's in, I'll stand up and ask to admit 58, ask to read the instruction of the stipulation.
Does the defense anticipate? No, I don't anticipate that you have any objection. You signed it. So I will ask. When he asks to move it in, I'll ask if there's any objection. And then once it's admitted, I'll read 2.3 stipulations, and then I'll read the stipulation itself.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm also going to go ahead at this point. I told the defense I would just go ahead and ask to admit State Exhibit 57, which I will do in front of the jury, but these are the medical records. I expect they have a fair amount of objections they want to put on the record. I was suggesting we just do those right now, and then, assuming Your Honor maintains your same ruling, I will just stand up and then admit at Exhibit 57 when the jury's in the room.
Let me ask you, if they have a substantial amount of objections they want to put on the record, which I understand and I'm not surprised about, and I've got the whole jury back, is there any reason why we can't hold off on that till either the afternoon break or...
No, we're going to do the medical records right now with the first witness. That's why I'm trying to...
Is that a little presumptive of him to assume that they're going to be admitted? It's like, I'm going to move these, and they're going to object, and I'm going to show them anyway.
Medical records not already heard. I know you want to put some stuff, I'm sure, on the record, but anything additional to any issues that have already been resolved by Judge Williams?
Judge, the issue was resolved by Judge Williams. It was in the motion in limine in Section B, so I won't go through everything that's there. Just quickly, though, to reiterate the point, the problem is that the records are completely unreliable. I'm going to go through it with Dr. Mendoza on the stand in front of the jury about how unreliable these records are.
Absolutely, I expect that. I mean, I think it's a weight issue and not necessarily...
So they're saying the medical records are unreliable?
Judge Williams' rules, I accept his ruling. I know you're not happy with his ruling, but that's the ruling, and I expect you to cross-examine and challenge the reliability of them with the witness in front of the jury.
Certainly, and the reason that it's untrustworthy was outlined in the motion, so I'll rely on the written findings for that, but I'll also just point out a few things in the records themselves that make it perfectly clear these records are not reliable. They're completely contradictory to one another. There are pages where it says Matthew Terry refused to answer. There are pages where it says he answered and said he was attacked. There are pages where it says he answered and said the injuries were self-inflicted.
Judge is saying you can bring that up on cross, but I'm going to admit it.
Testimony said a lot of the things that are in there either are entered by a doctor who it doesn't attribute the note to. There are things in there that I outlined in my motion that were attributed.
Defense
to her.
does not like
She
these
didn't
documents.
actually enter in there. There are things that are notated in there that she indicated would just be pre-populated and would just continue to be entered over and over and over to make it look like there's multiple entries.
It sounds like we have like a full-scale origami class going on in the background. Somebody with the papers is just going nuts.
To show what actually occurred, what might have been said, and one of the most damaging pieces of evidence against someone who may never have even said any of the things that are contained therein. Again, we had a hearing. I understand we're not relitigating it, but additionally, I've noted, as we talked about yesterday, on page 31, it says that officers were at the bedside at the time. On page 58, it indicates 2 officers were bedside, and although that goes to the related issue that you already ruled on regarding right to remain silent.
In your favor.
In my favor, which is great, but not on this issue.
I was a smart judge. Yes.
Like now I want it the other way.
Judge, I never say that you're not a smart judge. I do disagree with some of your rulings.
I know.
And in this respect, for the medical records, these records are coming in without what is required as the foundation. to
Tiffany,
help them defeat the
when your
law
friend
and
shows up,
the
give her a shout out.
The
We'd like to
only
highlight her.
reason medical records generally come in as an exception to hearsay is because they are couched in presumed reliability. But that presumption doesn't come about if there's indications in the records themselves that there's a reason to distrust them.
This defense
And as I
lawyer is
pointed
so
out,
good
there
at what she
are
does.
also reasons in the records themselves that prevent that presumption from being in place, and without that presumption, those records stay pure hearsay. So what is coming in now is a violation of the Confrontation Clause, a violation of Crawford versus Washington, and should not be coming in.
So she argues so eloquently and still comes across as friendly and likable, not like hostile. So the judge, that's why they can laugh back and forth.
But this is where I often like to say I'm just a gatekeeper. I'm not.
I think someone just died in the background. Did you hear that?
I'm not making any final findings on them. Just that they can be presented to the jury, they come into evidence, and you sound like you have a lot of great arguments that you're going to make and point out to the jury, while you're going to argue to them, who are the ultimate finder of fact, on the credibility and of the evidence that you'll be making to them. So I look forward to seeing that.
So judge is going to allow
I'm
it.
not changing the rules.
Yeah, it's like I'm sticking to my guns.
So, do you want me? You need to move them in, as you said, in front of the jury. Do you want?
Amber, yes, they're doing it wrong. They're doing it wrong. I can tell you, this is not ASMR. This is just noise.
Objections that you say already nothing other than previously argued.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, then. Are we ready for the jury?
All right, so does the defense have an objection to the stipulation?
Of
They
course.
indicated they did not.
Okay,
They
so
signed it.
that's in.
Well, you still got to move it in.
I understand. Okay, and you have the instruction to read for
I do.
stipulation? Okay, great, and then I will move those two in then, okay.
All right, and then you're going to call the doctor.
This
and
judge
move the
really
medical
likes his
records?
job.
I'm gonna move the medical records and the stipulation in first and then call the doctor.
Okay. All right. Defense ready?
Ready.
Let's get the jury.
Okay, so while we're waiting for the jury, let me just say, Toxic Orchid and Little Miss, that Discord page is unbelievable. It puts my little spreadsheet to shame. It has so much data, so many links, so many documents, so many just timelines of what's happening. The calendar of events is awesome. If you have not joined, and if Toxic is willing to accept you, you're going to want to join this. It is a true crime haven for information. I was expecting a little bit of like a voice chat area where we can all just hang out and talk. I didn't see it there, but I might have been looking in the wrong place. Mrs. Chaos, drop a hello in chat. Tiffany says she invited you, and Tiffany, thank you for spreading the word. We have something great going on here, and I'm glad you can bring a friend.
We're ready.
It's awesome.
All rise, jury in the courtroom.
Hello, Miss Chaos. Mrs. Chaos, thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoy it as much as Tiffany does. This is a great community. We love true crime. We love having a good time and laughing. We do it in a civil manner, so hopefully it doesn't get toxic in here. Other than toxic, other than Toxic Orchid, but he's not toxic in person. So, but yeah, we try to keep it
Welcome back.
nice and fun.
Good afternoon. Did everyone have a nice lunch? Did you go out in that windy weather out there? All right. Well, I think that that's just part of what
I will forget. I
you
promise
know
I'll
is
forget.
coming and we've made some announcements about. Let me ask you: was anybody exposed to anything about this case during the break?
There's that link to the Discord I was talking about from Toxic Orchid. Well worth your time. It's worth learning Discord just for that page.
All right, welcome back. We're going to pick up where we left off. I'm going to turn to the state.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence State's Exhibit number 57 and 58.
Well, I have 58 in my hand. 58 is the stipulation regarding identity. Is there any objection to that?
No objection.
All right, that 58 will be admitted. 57 is what?
Medical records.
Any objection other than previously discussed to 57?
Not other than previously discussed.
All right, 57 will be admitted at this time. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as to exhibit number 58, which is a stipulation, I have a very short instruction to read you and then the stipulation itself. When parties agree that certain facts are true, that is called a stipulation of fact. You must accept stipulated facts as having been proven. However, the significance of these facts, as with all facts, is for you to decide. In this case, the stipulated fact that you must accept as true is, I'm going to hold it up. It has the evidence tag on it, 58. It'll be in evidence, which means it'll go back into the jury room with you. It reads as follows: stipulation regarding identity. It is hereby stipulated by and between the defendant Matthew Robertson Terry and the state of Florida that K.E. Baker, the person named in count 1 of the indictment in this case, died on May 28, 2022 in the vicinity of 6209 Kite Ridge Drive in Hillsborough County, Florida, and the autopsy of K.E. Baker was conducted on May 28, 2022 by Ashley Perkins. We hereby certify that the foregoing stipulation is made in good faith and for the reasons herein alleged, dated to this 7th day of November 2022, and then it is signed by Justin Diaz, Matthew Terry, and Jamie Kane. And again, I'm going to give it to the clerk. It'll be in evidence.
Okay, so I just caught the address there of the incident. I'm going to check out
Call your next witness.
the overlay
Mendoza.
Dr.
satellite
Mendoza.
imagery. Amy, glad you're here. I hope to stay here too. Anne's handing out popcorn, so make sure you grab some. This is going to get exciting. Especially on cross for these documents.
Dr. Mendoza?
Yes.
Good afternoon and welcome. If you'll come forward to be sworn as a witness.
Can I just leave this way?
You can.
Wait this way, Doc. You would just stand right here.
If you'll raise your right hand, please.
She's keeping with the black and white theme.
Any testimony you give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I did.
Thank you, Doctor. If you'll follow the bailiff now to the ramp that leads up to the witness chair, please watch your step. When you get to that chair at the end, Doctor, go ahead and have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. That microphone in front of you is fully adjustable. The green light is on, so it is on and ready to go. You may proceed, Mr. Beard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Doctor. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Mendoza. I'm an emergency medicine physician. I currently work for Team Health Special Operations Physician Group. I just recently worked for the last 4 years at Tampa General Hospital as an attending emergency physician there.
Tag, it's good to have you back.
All right,
We missed
so-
you yesterday.
I'm sure there are certain requirements for you to hold the job that you hold. So let the jury know about your educational experience, your work experience, things like that to qualify you to be the emergency physician.
I graduated from New York University School of Medicine in 2005. Between 2005 and 2008, I completed my emergency medicine residency at the Virginia Commonwealth University Emergency Medicine Residency Program. I also had a fellowship at the University
previous
of
doctor was also from
Massachusetts
Virginia.
Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Similar schooling background, at
completed
least
in
the start.
2009 in emergency ultrasonography, and then between that time period until 2018,
She's like the
I was
female
emergency
version of
physician
Dookie Howser.
in the state of Massachusetts. The vast majority of that time until 2016 at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is a trauma level 1 trauma center. After that, I worked for 2 years at Newton Wellesley Hospital Emergency Department, which is a community hospital associated with Massachusetts General Hospital System, which is the Harvard University medical group. And then in 2018 is when I transferred to Tampa and have been working at Tampa General Hospital, also another level 1 trauma center.
All bona fide education
You're a licensed
background.
to practice your profession here in Florida?
Yes, I am for the last
Anywhere
4
else?
years. Also in the state of Massachusetts.
And so, help me with the math. How many years have you actually been working as an emergency
I'll fix this, Petra. Hang on.
physician?
If you are including my
Is that better?
residency training, where I was granted my MD in 2005, this is my 17th year now.
All right, 17 years of working in an emergency facility capacity.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you give me any idea as to how many different patients you've seen in that capacity?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that on average, in a, say, 10 to 12 hour shift, we're supposed to be seeing, on average, about 2 patients per hour spread over that time period. So there can be, in the low 20s, mid 20s, but especially at places like Tampa General or UMass Medical Center, where it is a level 1 trauma center, the patient numbers can get much higher, where you're seeing 30 plus patients per shift. So if you multiply that by 17 years and, anywhere from 15 to 20 shifts a month, that's really quite a bit of.
Let's do the math.
All right, you
Can
talked
somebody
about
tell
level
us-
1
tell us how
and
many
those
patients that
numbers
is a
can
year?
increase. Give us an idea of what a level 1 facility is and why that is so.
All hospitals can achieve different level designations as far as trauma centers. That is conferred upon them by the American College of Surgeons, and it has to do with the capacity of the hospital to treat patients that arrive in a trauma setting. The level 1 trauma center, which is the highest level designation that you can have, is the one that has the most capacity to treat the gravest injured patients. So the requirements usually include the ability to have on-call staff 24/7 in various specialties, including not just trauma surgeons, emergency physicians, anesthesia, neurosurgery, orthopedics, ear, nose, and throat physicians, plastic surgery, a burn center might be another designation as well. So it has to do with what kind of care can be provided at that facility.
Okay, so if you're level 1, you got to be ready for anything.
Correct.
And you got to be able to conduct a quick evaluation to figure out what needs to be done, and if something needs to be done quickly, to do it.
That's correct.
All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about Tampa General Hospital and their procedures, or how they go about operating an emergency room. Is in terms of, is it a team concept? Is what happens when you get information that someone is going to come in on some sort of alert status to your emergency facility?
In a setting like Tampa General, many times we do have the early sort of notification.
So we're just getting some background on her
with certain types of injuries.
expertise and what she sees. Basically, just this will be the background for her experience and understanding about the cuts that the defendant had. But Debbie says in chat, guess what I got in the mail? Debbie, do tell, please. Let's know what you got in the mail. We're just dying to know. I think I already know because I think I sent it to you. But I'd love to hear what it was.
This is not unique to Tampa General. Many academic centers, level 1 trauma centers, have these specific designations. At Tampa General, a trauma alert is sort of the second highest class of notification, where the patient sustained some sort of traumatic injury, and according to the criteria that were met, and there's a whole list of those, they need to be evaluated immediately by the emergency physicians, the trauma team.
I will spill the beans while we're getting the background on this doctor, emergency room doctor, for Debbie. Debbie was the winner of our contest, which is amazing because she really wanted to be the winner. And when her name came up, it was like, oh my goodness, she's not going to believe it. She was the winner of a contest where I gave away all the rings that I'd found metal detecting. I forget how many rings it was, but I think there were 3 tungsten carbide, 8 or so silver, and a couple gold. But she won them, so I mailed them to her, and they just arrived. So Debbie, I'm glad you like them.
information that
Enjoy. I'm glad you
paramedics
were here and glad you got to be
see.
entered in that
So
contest.
we need to be activated right away.
Okay.
And that means an entire slew of people come to the
Debbie,
trauma bay
do send a picture of the
OR,
rings with you and the
blood
rings
certified.
to
There's a lot of things
the
that
hotline
get
number,
activated
and we'll
as a result
post
of
it.
that.
And to that extent, it's definitely a team effort.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And I presume also as well that when you get sort of information from a third party, like an ambulance or whatever, from other emergency individuals, you presume the worst.
That's correct. We have to presume the worst and be ready to treat anything that comes through the door. And many times the story is not accurate, so we have to just be ready for anything.
All right, let me start to focus your attention back on May 28th, 2022. Do you recall being working at Tampa General in those early morning hours of May 28th, 2022? And did you recall treating an individual identified as Matthew Terry with the date of birth of January 18th, 1975?
That's correct. I was working a shift at Tampa General that night. It was an overnight shift that was from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And in the early morning hours, we were called to the trauma bay for a trauma alert. He was not named that because, as many traumas are, they're assigned kind of a code name when they first arrive, so that we, even if we don't have any identification on them, we can at least start charting on them and start ordering things in case we don't have their given name.
All right, I have medical records, exhibit number 57 relating to the care of Matthew Terry. Have you had a chance to take a look at those records?
Yes, I have.
And just to make sure, are those the records that you have been provided?
That's a lot of
Yes,
records.
these are the ones.
All right. I'm going to ask you some questions relating to the treatment and care of Matthew Terry at the emergency bay that morning, and so please feel free to refer.
The professor came back with
if necessary.
the number of patients she sees.
You talked about
91,800
the
patients over the 17 years with 15 shifts per month, 30 patients per shift.
Can you tell us,
That's a lot of
tell
experience.
us what was the alert status of Matthew Terry before his arrival on May 28th?
He was designated as what we call a trauma alert, so the second highest classification.
And again, what does that mean, trauma alert?
So again, a trauma alert is someone who has criteria that presents possible significant injury that would need immediate evaluation by the trauma team and the emergency physicians, but not necessarily the most gravely injured. For example, not significantly abnormal vital signs or a significant amount of blood loss at the scene.
Okay. All right, so as you mentioned, the trauma team is alerted. You're awaiting the arrival of Matthew Terry. Tell us what happens when Mr. Terry arrives and how you and the treatment team treated Matthew Terry.
So as with any patient, the entire team is already waiting. Usually there are several resident physicians who are MDs, graduated medical school, but are completing their residency in the various specialties like emergency medicine and surgery. So there are several members of the team that are all performing different functions. In a trauma alert situation, I am the captain of the team at that time.
Good to
the
see you here,
trauma
Broken Cradle.
activation is when the trauma attending surgeon will show up. Many times during the trauma alert, the trauma attending will eventually show up at some point, especially if we do uncover an injury that we need to intervene upon sooner rather than later. But usually for a trauma alert situation, the emergency medicine attending is the lead physician at that moment. So when Mr. Terry arrived, we were all waiting for him already in the bay. Nursing staff, in addition to the resident physicians, are all starting to transcribe things that are being done at that time. So he arrives, we immediately receive report from the paramedics that tell us what his presentation is. So they let us know that he had penetrating wounds to his neck. They provided the vital signs that they obtained on the scene, any interventions that they had prior to arrival, and then he's transferred from the EMS stretcher onto our stretcher in the trauma bay. At that point, the paramedics exit, and we perform what's called a primary and secondary survey. Primary and secondary survey is an algorithm, so it's a set of examinations that we do with every trauma patient so that we make sure we uncover any and all wounds and injuries that a patient might have. So the primary survey is a very brief, we call them ABCs, and that is assessing a patient's airway, their ability to breathe, and their circulation, because any compromise of those three things is a hard stop that we have to intervene upon right away, because the patient could die.
I'm not sure if we're going to see any pictures, but we might be able to see some scars on his neck, depending on how they healed. So keep an eye on that. The camera angle might be good for that.
He's able to speak, whether or not his oropharynx is blocked by blood or any other debris potentially, and then whether or not his pulses and his vital signs are normal or not. Then we move on to the secondary survey, which is a more detailed evaluation, and it's a head-to-toe evaluation, and we truly start from the head all the way down to the toes, just calling out every single possible injury that we find from head to toe. And that is looking for any sort of injury to major organs or vital structures at that time. All during this time, nursing will be getting IV access to draw blood work, and we, depending on the mechanism of the injury, we may start doing things like ultrasounds or x-rays to look for other signs of internal injuries. And then after we have completed that secondary survey, we then take stock of anything that we found to then inform what the next step would be, whether it's to get more imaging like a CAT scan, or
If I got hurt, seriously, I would want to go to this girl's hospital. They sound on top of it.
Just sort of go at that point. It really depends. In Mr. Terry's case, our findings included wounds on either side of his windpipe on the front of his neck. We did not detect any other wounds that required any other intervention. He was stable as far as his vital signs go. The wounds were not actively bleeding. We sort of do a cursory look to make sure there aren't what we call hard signs for neck trauma. And what that means is looking for the possibility that something very vital in the neck could have been injured. So the vital things in the neck include the carotid artery, the trachea, which is your windpipe, the jugular vein, and your esophagus, which is the tube that goes between your mouth and your stomach. And the hard signs would include massive bleeding, air bubbling out of the neck, or what we call an expanding hematoma, which would be bleeding that's not exiting the neck, but it's just sort of building up underneath the skin, so it's just kind of expanding wide. And he did not have any of those. So at this point, given that we felt that he was stable to undergo further imaging, we elected at that point to order what's called a CT angiography of the neck, which looks for any damage to the structures within the neck on CAT scan. He went off to go get those studies done. He was then admitted to the hospital to have consultation by the ear, nose, and throat, or the otolaryngology service. And they are the surgeons that specialize in any sort of issues between your nose and your neck. And he went to the operating room to undergo what's called a laryngoscopy, which is just a look directly with a special tool at the windpipe and the airway. An esophagoscopy, which is a camera that looks at the esophagus, and then they explored the wounds in his neck to make sure there weren't any other structures that were visibly injured, and then repaired the lacerations or the cuts to the front of his neck.
All right. So when you evaluated him at the beginning, you said there's a lot of things going on, a lot of people saying and contributing a lot of things. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is someone a scribe? Is someone documenting that information for the purposes of entering them into the records, so that everybody recalls what happens?
There are multiple people writing. There's a representative from the trauma team typing away on the computer. There's a representative from the emergency medicine physician team, and there's a representative from the emergency medicine nursing team. So there's at least 3 people documenting at any given time as the evaluation is occurring.
So you're the captain of the ship at this point.
That's correct.
You're the captain, and then eventually, after all of that is done, and the medical records are produced, you then electronically sign off on Matthew Terry and his and the documents related to his care.
That's correct. Once I'm no longer required at either hit that particular patient's bedside, and I have a moment to write down my thoughts over the case, I'll write a short note detailing, just a kind of a summary of what the emergency care was in the trauma bay, and then I sign off on the note that the emergency medicine resident has written as my representative in the trauma bay.
All right, so based upon your description and based upon the care that was provided that you've described, what came in as an alert, which could mean anything, and you're assuming the worst, when you and your team evaluated Matthew Terry, you realized that he could, it was not a life-threatening situation, and that you could follow care on a relatively non-emergency basis. Is that right?
That's correct.
So the CTs and the different radiographic findings and tests were administered to Mr. Terry, and he was admitted. And do you recall whether or not he was referred to a psychiatrist?
It's the picture Debbie just sent me of the rings she just opened. She won these in our little contest. 14 rings. Congratulations, Debbie.
I'm no longer part of his care, but from reviewing the records, yes, it looks like there was a psychiatric consult that was obtained.
And what can cause that? What can cause a reference for a psychological or psychiatric evaluation?
A psychiatric consult can be obtained on a patient if there is any potential possibility, especially in a trauma situation, that they were there's either a situation where the patient committed some sort of act to harm themselves at that moment, or that they suffered significant emotional distress from what event happened to them, that might require some sort of medication to help them in their recovery process. There might be a psychiatric consult if there's something during the evaluation that comes up where the patient may make statements that don't make sense to the treating team, physicians. It could be any number of reasons.
Right. And particularly in Mr. Terry's case, if you would make reference to page 50 and 51 and see if that helps you determine the reason for the psychiatric reference or referral.
Yes, so on those pages, this was a note from the trauma team for what's called the tertiary survey. So I'd already explained what the primary and secondary survey was of the trauma team. The tertiary survey is the next assessment after those primary and secondary surveys are performed. For lack of a better term, once the dust settles, they get to reassess the patient to make sure there really isn't anything else that was missed, and to follow up on anything that might have been done after the trauma bay in the interim. And this note was written by Nuri Nelson, who is part of the trauma team and is a nurse practitioner, a member of the trauma team. And she indicates the exam regarding the wounds, and also the findings from the CAT scan during the emergency medicine visit, and then also at that point that a psychiatric consult was ordered.
This is the witness.
And if you would
I
take a
believe.
look on page 27 of the records to determine whether or not that evaluation was done.
Yes, so on page 27, this is by Dr. Chatakta, who is one of the psychiatrists, so psychiatric physicians at Tampa General, performing the consultation that had been ordered by the trauma team. And the reason for request is always noted whenever there's a consult of any sort. And the reason for request that was indicated here was self-inflicted neck laceration, reports feeling depressed.
All right. And you mentioned in the first part of the evaluation of Matthew Terry, you needed to find out whether if he was in need of emergency care and whether there were substantial or any injuries to his neck which require additional intervention. How can you describe the injuries to Matthew Terry's neck in terms of the size of the wound, the depth of the wound, and what structures were involved in the neck and were not involved relating to those two injuries?
So initially, we do a visual or clinical assessment, and his injuries were, like I said before, on either side of his windpipe. They were going straight up and down on either side. They were not actively bleeding. So even though the tissue was open, the wound was open, there wasn't blood coming out of it. The bleeding had stopped. There, like I said,
The
there was
bleeding
no
stopped
bubbling,
on its own?
There
So
was
they weren't very deep at all?
hematoma. In order to get a better view of the extent of the injuries, that's when we ordered the CAT scans. And the results are in the chart. They start on page 19 as far as the findings of a CAT scan. And under the setting of soft tissues, it's described as bilateral, which means on both sides, bilateral laceration, soft tissue defects overlying the anterior bilateral sternocleidomastoid muscles. And they give measurements of 4.4 by 1.6 by 2.3 centimeters on the right side, and then 8.6 by 1.8 by 2.4 centimeters on the left. So just to make sure that everyone knows what the sternocleidomastoid is, it's this muscle belly that you'll sort of feel when you turn your neck over here. And you have them on both sides, so you can feel them when you turn your neck. They are fairly close to the surface of the neck, and overlying that you have skin, fat, what's called fascia, which is sort of like a sinew in between the muscle bellies. There's a very, very thin layer of another muscle called platysma that's right over that, and then there's a sternocleidomastoid. So depending on how much fat you have in your neck, you can either get to your sternocleidomastoid in just a couple millimeters, or it might be a couple of centimeters before you hit them. And it looks like on his imaging, he had, like I said, two
Discord links
two
in that
wounds
chat
that were
from Donna.
at
Thanks,
least
Donna.
a couple of inches long by a little more than half an inch wide and deep.
All right, so there was no injury to the carotid, obviously.
That's correct. There's no other injuries to any of the vessels in the neck, and there don't appear to be any injury that is visible to the esophagus. However, the esophagus can sometimes hide injuries even though there's no signs of it on the CAT scan, which is why we do the additional testing procedure that was done later.
Obviously, his windpipe, his larynx weren't affected, at least from your examination of it.
At that time, it did not seem like they were, but again, we always double check with the laryngoscopy and the esophagoscopy.
The external jugular vein, was that affected at all?
So when we do these CAT scans, there's a choice of doing either what's called an angiogram or a venogram. So the angiogram looks specifically at the arteries, whereas venograms look at the veins. Typically, for the smaller veins like the external jugular, we would probably see that clinically on a patient. Same thing with the internal jugular, because that is a very, very big vein. But the results wouldn't comment on any of the veins because of the nature of the study. However, they would have commented on secondary findings like bleeding around the jugular, that would say consistent with a possible jugular injury if there had one, and there was nothing of that sort in the report.
And the reason I ask you, because many of us, when we heard the jugular vein, it sounds serious, and it sounds like something that would need emergency medical intervention. So that's my question. My question is, one, is it possible that the external jugular vein was injured or damaged in this process?
So I feel like I have to just clarify one thing. There are two jugular veins, the external and the internal. The external is actually one that you can see if you ever, your kid ever does the breath holding because they're throwing a tantrum. It's that big vein that pops out.
Do kids
That's
do
the
that now?
external jugular vein. The internal one you'll never be able to see no matter how hard you hold your breath because that's quite deeper, even though it is about 10 times the size of the external jugular vein. So whenever we think of, oh my gosh, he's gotten his jugular vein, that is referring to the internal one. The external one could be easily repaired or the bleeding stopped just with manual pressure if there was any injury to the external. The internal one, that would be a much more involved injury and much more involved repair.
Do the records indicate that Mr. Terry had a blood transfusion?
No. There's no mention of that.
Despite you talked about the severity or lack of severity of the injury, is it nevertheless possible that there could have been a substantial amount of bleeding relating to those injuries?
That's funny, Mr. Torso.
At some prior time.
There is a possibility that he could have bled at the scene, and we would not, obviously, without seeing any sort of direct evidence of it, we would not necessarily have known that. However, we did do blood work upon his arrival, and his blood counts at the time were normal. They do take a little bit of time to reach sort of an equilibrium, and so a repeat blood test can sometimes be done later on to see if the blood counts are stable. But typically, if there was a large amount of blood loss at the scene, whether it's from a penetrating wound like a knife wound or a blunt injury, there would have been other signs that we would have noticed without any blood work. Rapid heart rate, very low blood pressure, neither of which were present upon his arrival.
You mentioned there was testing done. Was there also testing done which revealed any blood alcohol in Mr. Terry's system?
Yes, it's standard that we obtain blood alcohol levels and drug screens on every trauma alert and trauma activation. And his alcohol level at the time was 72, which translated to the kind of more commonly known reference ranges when you hear of the legal driving limit of alcohol of 0.08. This would be equivalent to 0.072.
Okay, and when was that blood drawn, which revealed that result?
This blood work, let's see, that would have been drawn right when he arrived.
Don't have to get a specific, but if you can give it a ballpark as to when that blood was drawn.
It would have been immediately upon his arrival because that would have been with the IV that was obtained upon his arrival.
And his
so
arrival?
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Around that time.
All right, and so my Along with that, are you aware that the body naturally eliminates blood alcohol at a kind of standard rate?
Yes, usually it's at about 240 grams per day, anywhere from 170 to 240 grams per day, which is, when you get down to it, it's about 10 grams per hour throughout the day.
Okay, so help me with the math a little bit. If that blood was drawn at 6 o'clock, and let's say at midnight, 6 hours, you do the math, what would his blood alcohol level be then at that point?
So it would be probably around 130 if he wasn't consuming any more. So that's assuming that he had a fixed amount at a given point, and at midnight it was probably around 130, and he didn't drink any more, and it descended down into 70 by the time 6 o'clock rolled around.
Okay, and if you've given that result, do you know the difference between legal blood and medical blood?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, there's a conversion process where we get records from the hospital and they give us a number, and then that number then is converted to a legal amount, which is different from that. Are you familiar with that? I'm not going to touch it if you're not
She's
familiar.
already talked about that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. We'll leave that for another day.
She's already brought up the conversion to the .08. I think he was trying to get her to say how
All right, so
that he was like 0.12 or 0.14. The other attorney's like, look, you're confusing her. She's the one that has to provide this testimony. She's the one that can bring this in. You're just asking it wrong. So he's probably going to go back to that issue right here.
all right. So just to be clear, you earlier explained the moving over the decimal points basically is what you're doing. A 72 is in terms of what you've described as a 0.07 milligrams per deciliter. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 0.07, that's correct.
0.07, and I asked you my hypothetical. Assume it's midnight, and then you do the math, and you said it's 1:30. So does that mean it's a 0.13? Just to make sure.
0.13 would be the conversion, yes.
And the 0.13, that would
That's
be
hypothetical.
medical blood.
That would be the alcohol content in the blood.
In the Tampa General Hospital records.
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't think the term's medical blood. I think he's trying to say blood alcohol level.
All right. Do the records indicate that?
I don't think medical blood is a thing.
Mr. Terry underwent any surgery for the repair of the
Kelly.
damages to his neck.
I think he wrote that down
Yes,
wrong in his questions.
He underwent a procedure with the ear, nose, throat specialist where, again, they performed a laryngoscopy to look at his windpipe. They performed an esophagoscopy to look at his esophagus, and then they explored the wounds of the neck.
Sounds
which
painful.
Involves probing the structures and kind of lifting up the muscle belly, and they then proceeded to repair the lacerations.
Do you know approximately what time that repair was done? Was it done the same day? Was it done immediately? Can you give us an idea of when that repair was done?
It was not performed immediately. I'd have to just double check where the operative note was. One moment.
Is she allowed to reference that without being invited to do that? To refresh her memory? I think the prosecution there with that whole medical blood thing, I think they just he typoed it somehow and thought that was a thing.
The record indicates that the anesthesia encounter started just after 4:30 on 5/28, so it was later that afternoon.
Okay, 4:30 in the afternoon on the same day that he was admitted at around 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's correct.
Okay, and And we've talked about damages to the structures, to the neck, and that sort of thing. He wanted to make sure that his airway was able to function, he was able to breathe, and he was able to.
Okay,
he
thanks,
was able
Amber.
to speak.
Appreciate that
So
clarification.
with all those things clear, he was able to breathe on his own. He was able to speak. Is that correct?
He was able to breathe on his own. We attempted to ask him.
No. So, yeah.
They're like, don't go there. Little sidebar here. The conversation where they attempted to ask him and he didn't respond type thing, I think that's what they are not allowing in from this encounter. The fact that he stuck to that terminology, medical blood, and she's with all her professional experience, she's looking at him like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And like, it's medical blood. That's what we call it. It's like, well, you can call it whatever you want, but that's not what it's called. I think he meant blood alcohol level. I think he just completely, had a brain fart and wrote down the wrong thing for his questions.
So my question is, the only question did his voice work? If you don't know, then that you don't have to add. You don't have to take.
I don't know if his voice worked.
Take it.
Basically saying that he didn't say anything.
May I have a moment, John?
Yes.
Dr. Mendoza, I have no further questions for you. Thank you very much.
I think this will be quick.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mendoza.
Good afternoon.
That's the schedule, Joe. DB.
One thing you said at the
on the
beginning
11th,
of your testimony was
and then the
interesting.
15th.
You said that when patients first arrive, sometimes the things you've been told, the story you've been given, isn't accurate.
That's correct.
And that's because some of that information is coming from EMS, dispatchers, police, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And because some of that information is coming from so many different sources, sometimes it gets recorded in the records incorrectly, right?
Yes, it does.
And particularly, there are notations that are in these records that we've discussed in regard to the question of whether Mr. Terry's wounds were self-inflicted or not, that look to be like an opinion, but are actually just a question of whether that's something that maybe needed to be ruled out, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's not your opinion, you have no opinion whatsoever about Mr. Terry's injuries and whether they were self-inflicted or caused by someone who attacked him.
That's correct.
Now, on page 6 of the records, it actually shows a resident named, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, Yuya Burkhart, who signed on as treating Matthew Terry at the very beginning of the trauma service. But that was actually you that treated him at the beginning of trauma, correct?
That's correct. Dr. Burkhart is one of the residents that I work with, and typically when a patient appears on our electronic tracking board as a trauma patient, whoever is going to become part of that treatment team, there's usually a resident involved with it attending. They'll just put their name on it to kind of indicate to everybody else that this is going to be my patient as the resident. From their perspective, and then I'll sign on whenever I can.
And in fact, that brings up a good point. Sometimes you can't make the notations in the record that you otherwise would because you're busy treating the patient.
That's correct.
And sometimes it can take a significant amount of time to treat the patient, so you can't get to that till much later.
That's correct. If the treatment of the patient is paramount, then we can sort of write everything afterwards.
Sure. And there was actually some confusion when Matthew Terry came into the trauma, right?
That is correct.
And sometimes notes get attributed to one doctor, even if they're written by another.
Sometimes that can happen, yes.
She's pointing out all the flaws with this
And
medical
for instance,
record.
on page 16 of the record, I'm sorry, page 11 of the records, there's a notation at 602 that was begun by a resident named Lawrence Seymour, but it was actually you that was evaluating Mr. Terry at that time, right?
So, Dr. Seymour was one of the residents that was participating in the evaluation of Mr. Terry. The resident, more often than not, I would say 99.9% of the time, the resident is the one who first starts the emergency medicine note for any patient that comes in. And then once the attending, in this case me, gets involved, we will sign off on it afterwards. So even though this looks like it was my note, Dr. Seymour was the one who started it, and I basically co-sign it, attesting to the fact that I agree with what he has written, that it was something that we found together during our evaluation and documented as such.
But you can be listed as the author of a note that you actually didn't author.
So correct. It's a quirk in the computer system where because I'm sort of the final signatory on the note, I get listed as the author, but the vast majority of the wording on the actual note is typed out by Dr. Seymour, and then there's a very brief note that is my own writing later on. If I can find the actual page for you so you can refer to it. It's on page 20, and it's timestamped 646 under ED course, and patient found with bilateral neck lacerations, unknown history, will obtain labs imaging, dispo per trauma team, which means that we're going to await the trauma team's evaluation to know how to disposition the patient, which is where they're going to end up after the trauma bay.
Sure.
She
and
got
that
really
note,
quiet.
as you said, was 40 minutes later, right?
That's correct.
And there were even times when multiple doctors and multiple nurses are getting assigned to multiple patients all at once, and they accidentally click on the wrong patient, too.
That's correct.
There are even pre-populated parts of the notes that end up coming up and looking like something was said or done later, but that is just coming from the very initial parts when somebody maybe came in through EMS and there were things that had to be ruled out in that regard.
That's correct.
The system sounds like a mess.
Now, you were asked about a site consult. Site consults can be ordered because somebody else suspects that a patient might have an issue that needs to be dealt with, not necessarily based just on anything that a treating physician or even the patient or someone else may have indicated, right?
That's possible, yes.
Now, regarding Matthew Terry's wounds themselves, there's no way to know whether Matthew Terry's wounds were self-inflicted or caused by someone who attacked him, right?
That's correct.
Any reference in his personal medical records about self-inflicted simply were things that your team needed to, or another team later, would need to rule out.
That's correct.
Now, his two injuries, you talked a little bit about them, but they actually extend into the sternocleidomastoid muscles, right?
They extended into the sternocleidomastoid, yes.
I know you mentioned that, and just to be clear with the jury what that means that the stabs went through skin, fat, fascia, which is a layer of sinew, platysema, which is a layer of muscle, and then into the sternocleidomastoid muscle, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And he had to have surgery to repair his wounds, right?
That's correct.
Could I just have a moment?
Yes.
She says that when she's done. Are we going to see his scars? Is he going to stand up? Is she going to identify the scar on his neck?
Nothing further.
Redirect.
No questions, Your Honor, thank you.
Release.
Yes, Your Honor.
Release.
Yes, Your Honor.
Doctor, you may step down. You may be released as a witness at this time. Be careful out there. It's getting windy.
Thank you very much.
I'll ask the state, please call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. State would call crime scene investigator Brandon Douglas.
Brennan Douglas.
keeping an eye on the storm there in Florida.
Okay.
Trying to get a feed
Mr. Douglas,
from,
good afternoon and welcome.
Afternoon, sir.
from some
If you'll
storm
raise your right hand,
chasers down
please.
there.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. If you'll follow the bailiff down to the ramp leads up to the witness chair, please watch your step.
He's got a shirt that says forensics on the
Go ahead,
back,
have
so
a seat,
everybody
make yourself
knows.
comfortable. That microphone is fully adjustable.
Please use it appropriately. Please, please. Point it at your mouth and talk into it.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury, if you would.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Douglas.
And Mr. Douglas, what is your profession or employment?
I am a crime scene investigator.
And
Thank
you're
you,
a crime
sir.
scene investigator with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell us about your experience, your training, which qualifies you to be a crime scene investigator with the Sheriff's Office.
Sure. Well, I have the Associate's in Science degree in crime scene technology. I have a bachelor's degree. It's just in public safety administration. I've actually worked for, this is my third agency I've worked for. So every agency I've worked for, I've gone through a field training program, which has lasted anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. Altogether, I've been in crime scene for approximately 18 years. So I've gone through numerous training classes and a variety of topics related to crime scene investigation.
Yeah, we can go over that. And we can do that.
Safe to say you've been to hundreds of crime scenes?
Yes, it is.
I want to draw your attention to May 28th, 2022, where you asked to respond to an address on Kite Ridge Drive relating to a death investigation.
Yes, sir, I was.
Tell us about how you got that information and what you did when you got that request.
Yes, at approximately 2:58 in the morning, I was requested to respond to 6209 Kite Ridge Drive.
There's the address again.
So once I did that, I was actually called in from home, a little early from home. So I got ready, responded to the scene, and I arrived at the scene at approximately 4:09 a.m.
So were you actually on duty when you got this call?
I was supposed to start at 6 a.m., so they called me in a little early.
So you responded, you got out there to Kite Ridge, and what did you first do, or who did you first speak with?
First, I met with Detective Van Gilder and actually CSI Janisic.
So there was another crime scene investigator, Ms. Janasek, who was already there,
Yes, sir.
and based upon the conversations you had with them or anybody else at the sheriff's office, what did you understand your responsibilities or requests were going to be?
So essentially, I was going to take over for CSI Janisic. She had worked the night shift, so I was going to relieve her.
And did you do that?
I did.
Were you aware that crime scene investigator Janasek had already performed some task related to this investigation?
Yes, I did.
And were you aware that the Janasek had taken had a swab that she turned over to you?
Yes, she did.
All right. Tell us about how you went about your job. What'd you do
On the scene.
on the scene?
So CSI Janisic basically took photographs of the inside of the residence overalls, and I was kind of tasked to kind of come in behind her and meet with Detective Van Gilder. We were gonna he picked out items of evidence that he wanted collected, so I placed yellow evidence markers on those specific items, photographed them, and ultimately collected them.
That was from the interior of 6207 Kite Ridge?
Yes, sir, it was.
All right, so you collected some evidence. You actually took your own photographs
I
at
did.
6207. And what was the next task that you performed, or did you other perform tasks in the course of that evidence collection and photographing of the interior of 6207?
I started in the inside of the house. The items he had picked out, I photographed and collected them, and we also kind of searched the kitchen area to look for any, see if there's any missing knives.
At some point, did Dr. Ashley Perkins arrive on the scene?
Yes, she did.
Okay, so and did you have any part or participation in anything that she was doing there at the scene that morning?
Yes, I was standing next to her while she's performing her examination. I was photographing and documenting that process.
Randy, that the 11th is when DB has to turn in his list of people who are going to speak for him. We don't know if that's going to be in person because that is a holiday, or if it's going to be just mailed to the judge or emailed to her. But we're going to see him in court definitely on the 15th.
All right, we'll get to some of the details regarding the evidence inside of 6207 here in just a few minutes. Let's kind of round out the things that you did, the responsibilities that you had with the overall crime scene, if you would.
Sure. So after Dr. Perkins cleared the scene, I basically went to the backyard of 6207 and 6209. And there we were looking for any suspected blood, which we did find in both of those backyards. And I began to label the various spots of suspected blood with green evidence markers. I photographed that once the markers were in place, and then I ended up swabbing all of those stains I had marked.
And did you happen to notice that there was a window opened and a screen door pushed out at 6207?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any? Did you photograph? First of all, did you photograph that area?
I did.
Did you otherwise take any steps to preserve either the dimensions of the window or otherwise participate in that evidence preservation?
Yes, sir. I put basically a tape measure up next to the window and took photographs with the tape measure.
All right. So you were green, right?
Yes, sir.
Was there another crime scene investigator there as well at some point in the crime scene investigation?
Yes, there was.
Who?
That would be CSI Durr.
That's DER?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as they're talking here, I just want to show you what we're talking about in the area.
Crime scene investigator
On our map, this is the address they've given us as where this
assist
happened.
you at least in
So
some
we can zoom in a little bit
ways
into
your
Florida,
job and your
push all the way down
responsibilities
into the
or your
Tampa
review of the
general
scene.
area,
Yes, he was there
and
with
this
me
is the
kinda
house.
helping identify a suspected
I
stance.
don't know yet where the tree line is. I'm not sure if the tree
Did,
line is going to be over here
you
closer
mentioned that
to
you
my
were
picture, or if it's
green.
over here. But there are some
do you
bodies of
recall
water
whether or
that
not,
he could have thrown something into.
Crime scene investigator
So this
Durr
would be where
had his
the
own separate
knife would disappear. So
responsibilities.
lots of trees
did.
around, lots of
I
hiding
was
places.
There was a brush line that divided the main backyard of the residence. There was a brush line, and then the right of way and the Lithia Pinecrest. So he was responsible from the area north of the brush to Lithia Pinecrest.
So you're kind of the backyards of 6207, 6209, maybe 6211. That was your primary responsibility. Crime scene investigator Durr, do you remember what color he was using? Was he using green as well or not?
No, he actually used red evidence markers.
So if we look at the evidence markers, those little cones that they have, the green ones are basically you, and the red ones are basically crime scene investigator Durr.
Correct.
All right, you told us that you ended up swabbing those areas that you marked. And when you say swabbing, I want you to explain that process, if you would, to the jury, so that we can understand what it is and why you did it.
Sure. So the procedure we use for swabbing, we have sterile cotton tip swabs, which is basically a cotton tip on a wooden stick, essentially. So what I do would open the package, I apply a little distilled water to both of the cotton tip swabs, and then just swab the surface that we want to swab or collect the sample from.
Okay, and then what do you do to ensure its evidentiary integrity?
So the two swabs that are in the package, once I swab them, I place it back in the
So
package.
thanks for the clarification on this.
The swab gets
Tree
put in
line
a white, basically
It's right in
glowing
here.
envelope, and that envelope
So we got
is
the
a
highway,
yellow,
6209, 6207. These are the two houses he's talking about. So he's in the backyard.
And
this is the tree
what
line
is the purpose
he's
of
talking about.
taking a swab? What evidentiary value does it have potentially?
In this particular case, I was swabbing the suspected blood stain, so it collects the blood sample.
All right, and then in the process of having those markers, and you're primarily the green ones, and the different work that you did did you then photograph those markers?
I don't believe you
as
talked to
they were
police.
positioned at
He
the
lawyered
time
up
that you
immediately.
collected the swabs?
I did.
So the markers are going to represent the locations of the swabs. that you
Truth.
took.
Truth right there.
Correct.
All right, let's start off with the interior of 6207, if you could. I'm going to show you what has been marked for identification, states exhibits 34, 35, 36, and 40. If you would, take a look at each of those exhibits, those photographs, and tell me if you can identify them, and if they actually represent or depict. If you would, take a look at
Not sure why it skipped there.
each of those exhibits, those photographs, and tell me if you can identify them, and if they actually represent or depict the photographs or the interior of 6207 when you were conducting your investigation on May 28, 2022.
Yes, they did.
You know, at this time, state offers exhibits 34, 35, 36, and 40.
Any objection?
The number of the letters.
Are they composites? Yeah, if you could give us 34A through,
I apologize. It's 34A through C.
thank you, 35,
35A through G. G is in George.
I'm gonna play the body cam footage of the search
36
in the background. We're not gonna have audio with
A
it, because we want to
through
just listen to the trial.
F
But
as
this
in
is
Frank.
the footage as it was played in court. So give me just 1 second to get that set up here.
40 A through P is in Peter.
any objection?
Maintain the prior objection,
Other than previous objections?
and that's specifically to states 34.
All right, other than previous objections to 34, any additional?
Okay, so the
objections?
main window has the body cam
All right,
footage
34A through C,
as it was shared in
35A
court.
through G, 36A through F, and 40A through P will be admitted at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. And permission to publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Okay, first 34. 34A. Do you recognize 34A? Or what can you tell us about 34A?
Yes, this was a wire hanger that was on an ottoman in the living room, which I labeled with yellow evidence marker number 2.
And is that the place you saw it or you found it?
I'm tweaking
It
the
was.
audio badly.
And then B, that's the same hanger,
Yes, sir. That's a close-up with the hanger with a scale.
all right? And then C,
And that is a close-up of the hook part that's kind of bent out straight.
all right, so I don't know if I can get that lightened up any at all. There we go. Okay, so all these are the same exhibit 2. One's just closer and one's even closer.
Correct.
Okay, now we have 35. Here's 35A. Get it close enough where we can read it to you. Is that your handwriting?
It is.
Okay. Can you read what it says?
It should say master bedroom.
Okay. Because that's what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the door to the master bedroom.
Correct.
All right. And then here's B.
Okay, I want to see these pictures. We're going to cut back to the main footage. I'll see if I can grab the helicopter footage here in just a minute.
And what room is that?
This is also in the master bedroom. That was a nightstand next to the bed, obviously.
Okay, let me focus in. There's an evidence marker 3. And what's that evidence marker related to?
That is actually marking a cell phone, which is to the right of the evidence marker.
Right at 3. You took that into evidence?
I did.
And here's C of 35. What's that?
So what I'm capturing here at the top picture is that nightstand we talked about previously.
Okay.
And so kind of in front of the nightstand and next to the bed is like a door strike plate.
Okay, and here we have D. And what's that?
And that was, I believe that was the piece of the doorknob, the part that sticks out into the door jamb.
And it says master bedroom, and that's where it's from?
Correct.
That's your writing?
Yes, it is.
E? What's E?
This is the strike plate I was referring to in not the previous photograph, but the one before.
Again, from the master bedroom?
Yes, sir.
From a door being
F.
kicked in?
And this is the door to the master bedroom, just showing there's kind of the damage or the splintered on the opening side there.
To the master bedroom.
Yes, sir.
And G.
And that is a close-up of the just the door and lock mechanism.
Okay. All right, let's move on to 36A through F. Here's A. Zoom out a little bit so we get an overall first. And what is 36A?
This is a photograph in the kitchen on top of the on the counter there above the dishwasher. I was marking a cell phone, which I had marked with yellow evidence marker number 1.
Okay. Is that the cell phone to our left of marker 1?
Yes, it is.
And I guess is a this is a little closer close-up of 1. Is that right?
Correct.
There's also a number 1. Is this the reverse side of that cell phone?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the back side.
Okay. Okay. That's number 1. And so here is 36D. Are we back in the bedroom?
Yes, this is back in the master bedroom.
Okay. And again, that's you mentioned that number 3 was a cell phone.
Correct.
And then 36E.
That is a close-up of that.
That's
Same
a close-up of
Yes, sir.
exhibit number 3.
Yes, sir.
And somebody's
then-
gym membership barcode.
F. That's a closer close-up. Is that correct?
Correct. That would be the front side, the screen side.
The front side, okay. Okay, that's 36. Next we have 40. We got 40A. Okay, what's 40A?
This is also in the kitchen. This was a knife block on top of the counter.
From the same kitchen area that the cell phone was from?
Correct.
Exhibit number 1, okay. All right, and this is 40B. What's 40B?
This is a close-up of that same knife block.
All right, in that same kitchen at 6207.
Correct.
There goes my door again.
And here's C, 40C. What's 40C?
And this is just another view so you can kind of see the top side of that knife block.
Okay, let me focus it in, zoom it in a little bit and see if we can read anything. There's an empty space for a knife block. Can you tell what that says?
Yes, that says 3-inch bird's beak.
It's this knife, so the one I'm holding here, not this actual knife, but that's what they're saying is missing. That's the knife they weren't able to recover. But 3-inch bird's beak knife. It's like a paring knife. Okay. Let's see. Shauna, what were you asking? Somebody asking about Dean? Yeah. They couldn't find the knife because, it can only exist in one place, right? Now this is the handle's a little bit different than the set they're talking about. Very similar but different. I bet mine was cheaper.
Okay, and here's 40D. And what's 40D?
So this is a picture of that same knife block. I had pulled originally the previous picture show the bottom, the first row there. To the right, those 2 empty slots were empty. So I pulled the one just to the left of the empty slot just to get a picture of what those knives actually look like.
And when you were there, and based upon your observations, did it appear that the knife that's in the hand matches the handles of the other knives?
Yes, it does.
So those are like the steak knives.
Okay, and here is 40E. If you would take a look at 40E. What's 40E?
So this is in the dishwasher. We found 2 black-handled steak knives in the dishwasher. So that same knife I had pulled out, I'm putting against the knives we found in the dishwasher just to show they're the same brand.
Okay, so the knives in the dishwasher match the other knives that were in the block.
Correct.
Hang on, there are 3 knives with that handle style, with the 3 rivets on them in the dishwasher.
And here's F. Here's 40F. And what's 40F?
So this is kind of a mid-range picture. So I'm showing the front half of the photograph was the kitchen area where you can see evidence marker number 2. And then towards the top left of the picture, you can see evidence marker number 2 in the background.
I don't want to read anything into it, but I have that same dishwasher.
And there's an open dishwasher there. Is that the dishwasher that you were earlier referring to?
It was.
And 40G. Is that just another angle of the same area?
It is.
H Again, same dishwasher, same area, just from a different angle?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and 40,
It's just coincidence, circumstantial evidence.
that's the same dishwasher?
It is.
Okay, there's knives indicated in that dishwasher, correct?
Correct. They're two kind of black handled steak knives, which were similar to the steak knives in the knife block.
J, same dishwasher.
Yes, so I closed the top shelf. This is just the second shelf.
Oh man, I've got that Tupperware too.
And K,
Same dishwasher, just showing the bottom shelf.
just showing the bottom shelf. L,
And this is just a photograph of the kitchen sink.
Oh man, we got
and
the same
the
sink
contents of the kitchen sink or the contents that you
mounted
found.
underneath. That
Correct.
might even be the same faucet.
Same with
It's
the
a
dishwasher.
pull-down faucet.
Whatever was or wasn't in the dishwasher is what you photographed.
Correct.
Okay, and here's 40M. See if I can.
I need a lawyer. 2 cents.
Same kitchen.
I'm not going to answer any more questions.
6207.
Yes, it is.
What is depicted in that photo?
So this was the silverware drawer in the kitchen.
That's a very full silverware drawer. Who keeps their measuring cups with their silverware? That's just weird. I mean, that's what
Here's
creeps
N,
me out about that.
40N. Zoom out a little bit.
You got me.
Again, another the kitchen drawer.
Yes, sir.
My cabinets are also white with that style. I think they might be a little different from the handles, but and I do have the granite countertops, but our
You know.
granite's a little darker. Too many
This is that
similarities.
same kitchen drawer. You can see we found kind of 4 brown wooden handled steak knives in the top part of that drawer.
There were knives everywhere. The dishwasher was full. There was a block full, drawers
And
of
then P.
knives.
And that is just a close up of the 4 steak knives we found from the drawer.
Don't spoil it for people. Chandra. The OCD is really getting triggered here with those drawers. I think steak was on the menu like
Okay,
every
we
night.
had, inventoried the photographs that you took in the interior of 6207.
Getting a call from Florida
I'm gonna
here.
Show you some additional photographs. If you would take a look at these photographs, and they are 41 A through W, 42 A through V as in Victor,
It was a spammer. Spammer scammer.
43 A through Y,
Yeah, that's what they said, but I knew it was a fake call.
and 44 A through Y.
Yeah, I'll be coming live from the courtroom.
So as to 41 A through W, 42 A through V.
This is a $1
43
million
A through
idea.
And 44 A through Y.
Honestly, if you
take a
could
look
pull
at
this
the
off,
photographs.
there is money there. You'd never have to work again. And people's fridges, go through their fridges. Why stop there? And head to the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. Let's really dig into some dark secrets. I'm locking the door. Haven't been able to find the helicopter footage. If somebody has the link to that, shoot me a text either on the burner phone or on one of my social medias, and I'll try to grab that and pull that up. While we're waiting, though, I will we'll show you the arrest here. This is underwear warning, underwear alert. We'll play that here. There's the defendant and how he looked at the time he was arrested.
Okay, as to those.
Lots of briars he's walking
41,
through with
42, 43,
not much protection.
and 44. Mr. Douglas, will you take over those photographs and tell me if they fairly and accurately depict the scene as in the area 6207 through 6211 Kite Ridge on May 28, 2022.
Yes, they do.
Thank you. This time, Your Honor, the state offers State's Exhibit 41A through W, 42A through V, 43A through Y, and 44A through Y.
Well, it was, the last one was also Y?
It is, Your Honor.
All right.
He's checking
so
the neck
any
right
objection?
there in the video.
No objection.
41A through W, 42A through V, 43A through Y, and 44A through Y will be admitted at this time.
You can see the collar around his neck is bloody, but it's not gushing or spraying blood.
All right, let's start off with 41. If you can, tell us what this depicts and orient us, if you can, relating to this crime scene, either by residence number or other references that will be helpful.
Sure. So this photograph is showing, I already have my green evidence markers put down. The house on the left is 6209 and the house on the right is 6211.
Okay, and those evidence markers, is that T in the front,
It is.
and then S
Yes, sir.
in the back, and so on, okay? Is 41B another example of that same area, maybe a little closer up? Oh, I'm sorry.
I would be eating the pickle. You can't take the pickle.
Yes, it is.
And there appears to be some discoloration in the grass just to the lower left of T. Is that discoloration relating to the position of K. Baker?
Yes, it is.
Is this Michelle? Is this the second witness after
And is that
the
a
break?
close-up? This is
But this witness is
41C. That's a close up of
see
that
if I can
same
find a
area.
link here.
Yes, sir, it is.
And 41D.
I think Libcom gave it to us before. I'm just scrolling back to see what he had said.
Same area.
It is. Kind of the bottom right of the picture is that area we
I've
were
lost it.
discussing.
I'll have
on
to
the previous
post it again.
photograph, and the center and the top is the porch, the 6209.
And it appears to be some
He's
sort of
a
measuring
CSI guy.
device that's beneath
State's
the railing
witness.
there.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did you put that there?
I did.
And it's a ruler, basically, essentially a ruler.
Yeah, tape measure.
The tape measure, and
Is it a yardstick though?
those are tape measure in inches. Is that right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. And here's another. Is that a close up? This is E41. E, is that a close up of that same tape measure area of 6209?
It is, and in the center you can see I labeled some of the red suspected blood with the green scale, and I labeled it DD Delta Delta.
Delta Delta.
Shane, we don't know why he was only wearing his underwear. He has not provided
He's the same
any
area?
story to anybody
Yes, sir.
yet.
Okay.
That's a lot of blood right there.
And this is G. Let's turn to G. What is G?
This is that same photograph. You can see the green marker T. The top portion of the photograph is another tape measure I laid down, and on the left side of the photograph is the front porch. It's a 6209.
So the T on this photo is the same T that we looked on the previous photograph.
Yes, sir.
Maybe his pants are the same place the knife is.
As in Sam. I mean, photograph 41H. What does this depict?
I'm not aware of them finding any
That is
pants.
another
Somebody can
large
correct me if
area
I'm wrong,
of,
but
suspected
I don't think they
in
found any.
between the house of 6209 and 6211.
Hey, Churchy, I'll take a look at that, see if I can find it.
Same photograph with tape measure?
Yes, sir.
$41J.
This one is another large area of suspected blood, which I had labeled with the green marker R, as in Romeo. This is actually on the west side of 6211, kind of near the front porch.
There's appear to be some sort of red-colored, like an arch pattern on the side of the wall at the base.
Correct.
Is that the way you found it?
It is.
Okay, 41K. Sorry.
And this is just another view of that same area.
And here's L. Same area now with the tape measure?
Yes, sir.
And here's 41M.
This is that same area. I'm just showing the wall portion of the residence with a tape measure.
Okay, here's 41Q. Orient us as to 41Q, if you could, please.
So this is also between...
I'm sorry. No, it's N. It is N with a marker that's designated Q. This is N, 41N.
This is between 6209 and 6211.
Okay, we've got that footage from
This,
the
fence
aerial.
here is
We're
basically
going to
the
bring that
front
on now
area of the fence,
as they keep
which
talking
belongs
about
to
all the
6211's residence.
the crime markers. So this is a
And
FLIR
are you
footage,
looking, into the
forward-looking
front yard,
infrared
or are we looking to the backyard?
from
the
a
backyard's
helicopter.
The top of the photograph?
or
Yeah,
a
I'm
drone.
standing
I'm
in
not
the
sure.
front
I believe it's a
looking towards the
helicopter
back.
based on the data that's on it. So this is what we call a white hot image,
And here's O.
where heat is displayed as white and cold would be dark. There are other ways to display it, but that's how this one's set up.
And that is a close-up of some suspected blood on that little grass leaf right in the center there.
You can see it has
And I
difficulty
used,
looking
green
through
marker Q.
foliage,
So Q
through
back.
trees.
So you mentioned all these markers that were made. You took swabs from the suspected blood there.
Correct, I did.
And here's 41P.
And that is that same photograph. I just used the scale.
And now we have 41Q. Tell us about 41Q.
So this is near the letter marker Q. This is that front fence I was talking about. So this red stain I have labeled CC, Charlie Charlie.
41R. Let me zoom out so you can orient us, please.
So this photograph in particular, you can see the two green scales I used on kind of the center of the photograph. This is actually the east side of 6209 near the back.
Okay, and again, you're looking into the backyard?
Yes, sir.
Where is, if you're looking at that photograph, where is that wooded area relating to the case?
Basically the top of the photograph. So if you're looking straight back, the top area, that's where the brush line starts.
And let me focus in here a little bit if I can.
And this camera is focused on the brush line here, the aerial camera, thermal imagery.
And did you put those markers there?
I did.
And here's another one. Were they designated by number or letter?
Letters. This, if you zoom out, the green scale kind of closest to our vantage
Okay,
point.
so you get the idea there.
Was labeled BB, Bravo Bravo, and the one above that or to the right of that was labeled AA, Alpha Alpha.
All right, so it's BB is the one that's basically at the more to the bottom of this photograph as we're looking at it.
Correct.
And above that and to the right of that is what designation?
AA.
That's AA. Thank you. All right, now we got 41S as in Sam. Tell us about S if you can. Let me zoom out so we can become more oriented.
So here I'm just kind of, if you see to the right, that is the 6209 address. So I'm kind of standing in the backyard, actually looking towards the front yard.
And we've just talked about these markers right here, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So this is the trail of blood they're following,
And we've previously talked about the markers that are
which
on
made
the
it really
grass
easy to find it.
in previous photographs, right?
Correct.
This will be some tough evidence to overcome. I mean, it links him right to that scene where that happened, so his story is
Right,
gonna
and
be
here's
interesting.
T. Here's 41T. Let me zoom out. This 41T. Is that same wall at 6209?
Correct. You can see our marker scale I have there, AA and BB.
So now we can read AA and BB better. Okay.
Shoddy lawn care at best, Charlie. I think you're correct.
And now we've got, zoom out. Here's 41U. What's 41U?
And this is a close-up of what I had marked AA, suspected blood with a tape measure in view.
Same AA that we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Deborah, I'm gonna
And
grab
then
this footage really
41V.
quickly because this is boring. We want to see something a little bit
And this
different.
is
I'll see if I can
showing
pull that video
what I had labeled
surveillance
BB,
footage from that store.
suspected blood with a tape measure in view.
Okay. All right, just to be clear, there's only one green BB, just as like there's only one green T, a Q, and R in the remaining.
Correct.
So you did that specifically to make sure that there was no misunderstanding as to what the markers were and which one was which.
Correct.
I finished with that number. Let's go on to 42. Okay, 42A. What are we looking at?
So this is the backyard of 6209. So to the right, you can see the fence line we kind of discussed. That's the fence line of 6211. So I'm standing near the back of 6209, looking north or towards the back. To where the brush is there at the top of the picture, and on the other side of the brush is Lithia Pinecrest.
Okay, and there's a marker here. Let
Yes,
me
sir.
see if I can focus in, get us a little closer. Did you put that marker there? Is it O?
Okay, we've got
Yes,
the
I
video
did.
pulled
Yes,
up.
it is.
And
Um,
is
I'm going to
I
just
see
play this in the
something
background
green
while we're
on the fence over
while we're
here
watching
at
and
this
listening to the
area.
audio of this one. So we're not going to hear
Is that
the
there before, or did
commentary,
you
and they do
I
pause
put
this a
that
couple
back.
times as they played it in
Maybe
court.
some other
so
markers along the fence.
We'll try to
We're
just
gonna
get
get to
through it
those?
here.
Yes, sir.
Here's B. Okay.
So this footage is from a security camera in the restaurant or the bar that they were at.
What's 42B?
So this is that fence line we previously talked about. You can see the marker O kind of in the lower right-hand corner of the photograph,
Okay.
and it's kind of hard to see, but there are green scales
Trying to get it to
labeling
play here.
suspected blood along that fence line.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. (42C).
That is a close-up of some suspected blood that I label with marker O. You can see if you're looking at the marker, kind of the lower right marker, there's like a grass petal there that has a red stain on it.
Let's skip ahead here. I think this is when she
Okay.
had left to the restroom.
And let's look at D, 42D. Let me zoom out a little bit first. What's that? What is it? What is D?
That is that same stain. I just added a scale to it.
Mr. Dirks, before you go to the next one, it's been over an hour and a half. I think the jury needs a little break, so we're going to go ahead and take our afternoon break at this time. Please do not discuss the case amongst yourself or with anyone else. Please do not do any research related to the case. All rise for the jury.
Okay, so we get a little break here. Trying to see if I can find this footage that shows the dance. And it's like, it's so short. Okay, there she is.
Three has exited. Everyone may be seated. Sir, you may step down, enjoy the break as well. Just do not talk to anybody about your testimony because you are still on the stand. Mr. Dirks, I'm sure it's not you, but several of them were nodding off, so I thought it was appropriate. I was watching that.
The jury has fallen asleep.
Enjoy the break.
Okay, so I'm not getting the clip I want out of this video. There she is. The red shirt, I think that's one we're following. So let me back up to right here. As we follow her up and around, you'll see someone else walking towards her, and they sort of engage in this little sort of hands up shimmy type thing. And then you'll see the guy that walks, hands up and sort of shimmy, squeezes around them. And that was the whole dance. That was the whole reason that they had the argument. Skipping ahead because they paused to talk about this. Back up. Okay, so there it is. You can see a little dance there. The guy goes by. That was the dance. That was him. The white shirt. That was it. That's what the trigger was. Crazy. Let's see. Let's go here. Okay, I've been ignoring chat for a long time. What did I miss? I've been researching stuff on the internet. Jealous Birdman didn't deserve her. The dance is less than 2 seconds. The guy was just trying to get around them. He wasn't dancing. Roxanne, it looked to me like he was sort of like punking, like, sort of thing in the background as he was just walking by. But it was like hands up, walking by, and he never stopped. There wasn't any like eye contact. She didn't even turn towards him. She was always looking at her friend. Yeah. You can see him watching her, following her to the bathroom, watching her again. He has major control and jealousy issues, 100%. Yes, that is the defendant. And we saw him, I think you saw him on that feed as well, the security feed following to where the bathroom was, checking on her type thing. He has spent some time in jail up in Michigan, I think a couple of years up there. He got out for 5 months and then was charged with this murder. Our town square has all the Christmas decorations already set up, and Walmart has had Christmas decorations out since before Halloween. I haven't even had my Thanksgiving turkey yet. We just try to squeeze all the holidays in just as quick as we can. Yeah, that is not a murder level dance. I definitely would agree with you, Charlie, on that one. I was nodded off in class and learned to drop caffeine drinks unless I was in class. That's why I got a boost. That way I got a boost. Yeah, the jury is headed to the soda machine for Mountain Dews. And then they'll be on their A game for the rest of the meeting. It might be a long day today, too. The judge just said because, we're taking tomorrow off and then with Veterans Day on Friday, we're trying to cram in a little extra here today. They will not be handing him a knife either. There will be no reenactments, for sure. Dude has serious issues. Right, short fuse as well. Scott, you're missing the fun while working. We decided he has bird lips. Okay. Bird lips. Somebody said they wanted to pull out his bottom lip with pliers, and I mean that's not a typical punishment, but maybe we could consider it. It might fall under the cruel and unusual category. Tag, it's the only one I can stand. I can't do Pepsi and Coke. I guess I can do orange. Crush, or what was the orange one? That's pretty good. Sunkissed. Ferry's coming in with the Law 101, Lawful Law 101, no mace, no case. Mr. Upper Torso, you are correct. He was out of jail for 5 months before allegedly killing someone. I don't know if this girl knew of his prior conviction. Yeah, it was getting a little slow there. The prosecution is not really presenting this in a way that keeps me on the edge of my seat. You might have caught me with a little yawn myself. Somebody keeps calling me. I think if I didn't know better, I think they want to talk to me. But we'll say, sorry, can't talk right now. Okay. I think we're good. Got the picture of Diane's rings, or Debbie's rings. And it's awesome. They're so happy for you, Debbie. Seriously, it's so exciting. Okay, what's the defendant's name? This is Matthew Terry. He was a former Marine. He was dating a third grade math teacher, and apparently had some jealousy issues. Got into an argument with her at a restaurant with another friend there that witnessed. So that friend, I believe, testified already yesterday, and they got into an argument, and he just would not let it drop. He thought that this girl had danced with the guy as she came back from the bathroom on the way back to the table. And she was trying to say, no, I wasn't, we didn't, explain to him. And it just kept blowing up. And then we get like a text message half an hour before her body's found saying, hey, sorry, it's all good. And then she's dead. How long is the break? Usually these comfort breaks, as Judge Darrow calls them, are about 15 minutes. tab. I remember that as a kid. I think you can still buy it. Is it still around? It tastes like pure syrup. Yeah, I've been good since my first couple days on the live stream. I have steered clear of the Mountain Dew. I'm drinking water today, as a matter of fact. I have one here and 2 more on the shelf next to me ready to go. Karen Fall says, maybe the Recovery Addict Search Squad should congregate and find that knife. I bet we could. Seriously, I mean, I'm not joking. I really think that the police, at least with the level of resources they have, should be able to locate that knife without like a body of water or a sewer drain nearby to throw it in. I mean, it's going to take some work. You've got to climb up on roofs and look in rain gutters in case it got thrown up on the roof. You've got to look all over the place, but I bet you can find it. We are motivated searchers for sure. Oh, we need music. Who was, let's see, who was in charge of the internet right now? Is it back to Abby? Let me see if I can show you what options you have as far as songs go. Okay, here we go. We're going to take this one first. This is bank 1, I believe. And here we have bank 2. So the same colors. Orange 1. Orange 1 is Wishful Thinking. Here we go. A little bit of acoustic guitar there. The visual image of this is quite stunning. I think we'll probably be here at least till 6. So that gives us 2.5 more hours. Is that right? Yeah. Good song. I think we have time for one more. Now that you know the colors. Let's see. Abby says, Recover Addict Amy Humphrey, forgive me. This has been asked and answered, but so we know if Kay knew his ex, knew that he was in prison for stabbing her. I haven't heard anyone mention this. We're going to need somebody to do some homework on that. Debbie says red. We're going to go with red. We'll have to turn it down a little bit because this is the loud one. I don't know if the victim here knew him or knew his ex before. If somebody can go back and review, or those of you who have the notes who have been following this while we were following Dean, if you can let me know. Abby says Amy Humphrey asked that. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I don't have the answer. We might have to consult Discord. Discord is the decider of all facts, and Toxic Orchid has all that assembled. We'll have to peruse that and see if we can find an answer. So Kaylee says yes, she did. So they did know each other. So and someone, I think they had said that they had dated previously, like that. I'm sorry, I don't want to just show you that. Let's go here. Her friend testified that they knew one another a long time ago before their marriages. Hey, got back together. It's like, hey, I'm available now. Stabbed the last one, so spot's open. Abby, this is true. Anytime you want to get my attention on the chat, go ahead and tag me in it. I will try my best to read it as long as it's appropriate and on topic. Just put the @ symbol, start typing Recovery Addict. You'll see a little pop-up on the screen. Select it, and it will put my name in bold for me. It will be in bright orange letters. It really stands out. That one ends abruptly. Okay. Down in front, we want to see the clock. Okay. Yeah, we've got. Is this a shirt or hair that's blocking the view? Wish we could switch to something else. Maybe we'll just take this one for now. I'll keep an eye on two. I'll keep the audio on as well. So as soon as it pops on, we will hear it. Okay. Okay, better music if we can't cuss. What music do you want, Mac? Do you want to choose the next one? You basically have bank 1 or 2, and then all these colors, here. What spots are available? There we go. We've got a shot at the clock again. 2 teal. I think you guys like this one. Hey, 2 cents. What can I do for you? Got a question or anything? Appreciate you being here, by the way. We are in a comfort break and probably a caffeine break for the jury. They were dozing off, according to the judge. We lost a couple of them. Pauline, oh man, this was the best part. This morning, the judge actually did rule on this and said, yes, we are going to hear these prior acts. We're going to have 2 witnesses, and the prosecution's already told us they're going to come in tomorrow. We're going to have the girl who was stabbed,
Defense ready?
as well as the lead investigator on that.
Let's get the jury.
So Monday we're going to have that, but we won't have anything tomorrow or Friday. We'll still do a morning show.
I warned them. I may have to at 5-ish ask them how long they can stay, but still within reason.
We
Okay,
still got 5 o'clock in our sights, Your Honor.
So 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So we've got an hour and a half. At least that's when we're going to check in with the jury and just see if they're going to still be around.
All right. That's when we try to rush things. At ease. As I knock things down.
Kay Dunlap, my thoughts on this. I really think, first of all, I think he'll be found guilty, but I have doubts as to whether or not they will sentence him to death. Just like in our little trial, our poll we had here on our live stream, we had about I don't know, about 2/3 of the people who participated in the poll who are against the death penalty, just like morally against the death penalty. Or sorry, a third that was morally against, I think, if I remember correctly. But that's a big chunk. And to have that death penalty, you need a unanimous decision, is my understanding in Florida. So I don't think they'll be able to get that. I think he'll have life in prison. But I definitely think he's going to be found guilty. That's my take. Hot take, fresh off the press. Toxic, you get my old military sarcastic humor too. I love dry sarcastic humor, as long as we keep it appropriate. A couple of you have slid a couple things here in chat that might have escaped the masses, but I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Some of you are very witty. He feeds the jurors with great takeout. I wonder what his favorite restaurant is. Does anybody know? Can somebody Google that? Do we have like a juror report on this judge? It says Rajesh says, the judge is a little too folksy for a murder trial. He does come across as very friendly and jovial. Santa Claus-ish, right? Kaylee says, you're correct, Florida, the death sentence requires 100%. That's why Parkland murder got life in prison. They had a holdout, or 2 or 3 holdouts that even though they agreed that the state met all the parameters, they eventually just said, the mitigating factors outweighed it. And one, I think, just wouldn't vote for it no matter what. So agreed, guilty but life in prison. Those past acts might see the deal. They could be enough. That could be enough where somebody says, hey, this guy, he's wasting our air, They could go there. A smiling judge is not always good. I got the power. Bum, bum, bum. This judge loves Mexican food and pizza, says Tag. I take it that you are an authority on this, so I will take that as fact from our expert witness. So it's a Nacho Supreme. Is that it? Pizza is a broad category, really, when you think about it, because there's all sorts of things you can call pizza nowadays, including, like chicken and Alfredo, and veggie pizzas and stuff. He ordered tacos twice for the last case I watched with him as judge. He makes me hungry talking about ordering takeout. Did the jurors get any, or did he get all the tacos? I'm just curious. Asking for a friend. 3 out of 12 in the Cruz case, 25% that just won't vote for death. What you gonna do? Yeah, what are the odds that they have 12 that are morally open to voting for that? Now, granted, that should have been revealed in the questioning of each of the jurors. That should be a question they ask. The prosecution would say, hey, if we prove this case, are you able to vote for the death penalty? Can you find it in your heart to get to that point? I think that's a perfectly appropriate question for them to ask the jurors, potential jurors. Yeah, but if the Parkland shooter did not get the death penalty with killing 14 people and 3 adults, premeditated, I don't know how this can happen. So yeah, I'm thinking life in prison. Florida has the landscape has changed, for sure.
Jury is present and seated. Everyone else may be seated at this time. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope you had a sufficient break. Welcome back. We're going to pick up where we left off. Mr. Dirks, you may proceed.
We're looking at the camera on the wall. Also a pan tilt zoom.
Right, Mr. Douglas, we had
those are about $2,000 made by Sony.
I just have a couple of the photographs
Pretty
I want to
nice.
show you from that exhibit. Here's 42R. We would take a look at that. And is that marker U?
Yes, sir, it is.
And you can, just to orient us, in the background there's some garbage cans. What those garbage cans are to which residence?
That is the back half of the residence to 6209.
6209. And is this Exhibit T, 42T, is that from that same location, only with some
Adam, are you serious?
markers on it?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. All right, that's all I have from 42.
She met him, or she attended the previous trial. She knew. Oh my goodness, and she just thought it can't happen to me.
This is 44. Mr. Douglas, you took photographs of the backyards area 6209 and 6207. Here is 44A. Is this a photograph from a portion from that
I
backyard?
wonder if he could do this faster.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
A lot like the way they
orient
introduced
us
all the
with
pictures from the medical
the
examiner, where they did them in
44B,
batches,
if you can. Some
and
landmarks
authenticate
or
all of them that
areas
way
that
instead of doing
are of note
individually
so that
with
we
each
can make sure that
landmark.
we're all
Yeah.
looking at the same thing.
So the structure here in the kind of top right of the photograph is the back of 6207. So I'm standing in the basically the northwest corner of the property, facing towards the. You can see the back, but I'm facing towards the front.
All right. And there appears to be some markers with letters on them, and then some markers on this little jungle gym or climbing structure in that backyard of 6207. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I told a story a couple days ago. I once ordered a pizza for someone I had never met, to a location I'd never been, but there was a live stream and he was on it, and we were having some fun at his expense, I guess you could say. And at the same time, I thought, if we're going to sit here and watch him and have a good time, I think the least I could do is send him a pizza. And so I ordered him a pizza from a couple states away, and then got to watch it get delivered. And I was on the phone with the delivery guy, trying to explain that, no, I'm not there. I'm watching the guy on the internet, and this is what he's wearing, and I can see you and turn
And
this
here's,
direction. And the guy got the
44
pizza
view.
and waved at the camera. It was good fun.
Just at a different angle or viewing something different in that same area?
Yeah, so I'm kind of this photograph. I'm standing in the same spot as I was previously, but I'm facing more, so you can see the side of 6207 and the fence line of 6205.
Okay, that's 44.
Tag, who's throwing carrots? Do you have like a killer rabbit in the neighborhood or something? Why carrots?
Now let's go to our last set of photographs, 43, if we can, please.
I get pizza bombed. That's why I don't give out my address.
43A. Take a look at 43A, and again, if you would please orient us.
So here, the if you look on the left side of the photograph, that is 6209, and that structure kind of top center is 6207. And on the kind of center right side in the background there, you can kind of see where that jungle gym is at.
Wise man
Okay.
says, when they throw carrots, make carrot soup.
And if we look at 43J, can you again orient us, please?
Yeah, here I'm standing kind of on the property line between 6207 and 6209. You can see the jungle gym in the top center of the photograph. And then the markers we previously discussed to the right.
These
of
are
the
small
jungle gym.
yards. They really are. We'll have to go back and look at what the neighbors testified to what they heard, because there's not much privacy here. Unfortunately, I think what they heard is going to be pretty tragic, because they heard her
And
getting
again, all
killed.
those markers are the markers that you placed and which correlate to the swabs that you took.
Yes. Caller ID really cramped my style.
All right, that's all I have in 43.
I would tell you more about that, but it might involve a felony, so I can't admit to that. Let's just say you can also prank on a radio if you have the right radio.
Douglas,
And I had the right radio that could tune into the McDonald's frequency for the drive-through for their headsets. And so someone could pull up to the drive-through, and I could talk on my radio from about half a mile away and order for them.
Terry,
Anyway, I'll let you decide in your, follow where that went.
Janice, do you recognize this?
But
Can you take-
I liked pranks as a kid.
I'm sorry. What number is that?
22.
22. It's been cut open. And
Yes, to make it worse, I actually worked at that McDonald's as well. So I was an employee there. So that's how I knew how to do it. And I was able to test the radios and the frequencies and everything. The couple that heard a thump and then what sounded like crying.
Do you recognize 22?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This is a envelope from, according to the label, swab of the right hand from Matthew Terry that was turned over to me by CSI Janicek.
Hey, we've got some actual evidence here, so I'm going to take this off the screen. Squirrels in the garage. You need a BB gun, Tag. You need a
In
BB
same
gun.
condition.
Yes, it was.
Paid off number 22, Your Honor.
As soon as we have a
The
motion-
Queen got pranked by someone who pretended to be the PM of Canada. Prime Minister's calling. I'll take the call. Oh, I really liked the Queen. I really did. I was over in England when Princess Diana died, and it was a remarkable experience to be there for that.
United States offers exhibit number 22.
Any objection?
No objection.
22 will be admitted.
He's like, oh crap, I forgot I had blood on my hands. So this is a swab of his hands. And he's going to testify to what they found with the swab, with the testing.
Mr. Douglas, you mentioned some evidence that you made reference to inside 6207. I want to show you a few exhibits if I can, please. First number 37.
They turn the mics off every time the two attorneys get close together to confer amongst themselves. And so every time the other guy gets up to say, hey, what about this type thing, that's why they turn the mics off. That's why we get these quiet moments like this. Squirrels nesting in my garage attic. I went up there to grab a box and saw them. I had a squirrel in my garage, and I've got a garage that has a single side door entrance. It's a detached garage. And I opened the door, and the squirrel was there, and it came out, and it charged me, and it like launched in the air at me. And it had been running up the walls and everything trying to get out. So I'm trying to get it out, but it was straight out of Monty Python. It really was, with the killer rabbit. I needed the holy hand grenade, but I didn't have one. But yeah, they can be vicious. They can run up and down your arm in a blink of an eye and leave a bite every half inch on the way. It's crazy.
Okay,
Be
first
careful.
I can show you, if I can, what has been marked for identification. Stacy exhibit number 37, if you would take a look at that. And look at the packaging and the mark on the camera. You can identify.
See, this triggers like the part of me that likes to open mail. It's like, woo, I got a package type thing. But it's not good mail here. It's like crime scene stuff. It's bloody weapons
You
and
recognize it?
I do.
What is it?
This is the cell phone I collected from the nightstand in the master bedroom.
That would be marker 3.
Yes, sir.
And at this time, the state offers 37.
Any objection?
No objection.
37's admitted.
so Matthew Terry's going to be like, when do I get my cell phone back?
9. If you would look at 39, tell me if you can recognize it. Package is open. Countenance.
Patty, they don't do that here. We don't have any sort of help in that regard. North Carolina has a red-handed law where if animal is destroying property,
I do.
it can be
What is that again?
terminated.
This is the cell phone I collected from the kitchen counter.
That was Exhibit 1.
Yes, sir.
At this time, State Office 39.
Any
No
objection?
objection.
39 is admitted.
And
Next time, I'll show you what-
Patty, I use a BB gun that's a Red Ryder BB gun.
If you look at
It's
38, and tell me if you can.
it's basically a glorified. It's almost like a rubber band gun. It's about that powerful. I've been shot with it multiple times, and it all it does is scare them out. No harm.
I do.
And what is it?
This is a set of keys to the residence.
Appear to be in the same condition today as when you took them into evidence back on May 28, 2022.
It is.
Now the State Office number 38.
Any objection to 38?
No objection.
38 is admitted.
Now, Mr. Douglas, you talked about the swabbing that you took on all the markers and on the green markers that we talked about. I'm going to look, I'm sure it has been marked for identification in State's Exhibit number 50.
No objection.
What was the number?
Number 50.
50 admitted.
Tag, I do not have a console. I told you about
40,
my
49.
gaming addiction
So another,
history, so I do not own a console. I think that would not be a good device to have around me, but the game sounds hilarious.
is it the swab that you took from CC?
Yes, it is.
You recognize
It sounds like fun. I might have to watch someone else play it, maybe.
Yes, I do.
He's just playing open all the envelopes game right now.
Any objection to 49?
No, Your Honor.
49 admitted.
And this will be everything that they could basically remove out of the house and fit in an envelope.
48. Marker green BB. Swab from that marker.
I recognize that.
And is that in the same conditions when you took it into evidence?
Yes, sir, it is.
Number 40.
What is it?
48, Your Honor.
48, no objection.
No objection.
48 admitted.
47. Swab
I will
from
get
green
distracted.
Marker U. If you would, take a look at that and tell me if that
I know. Is it the sharp edges?
is your swab from that green marker U.
It is.
State Office number 47, Your Honor.
No objection.
47 admitted.
Yep. I think they ran out of gloves a
46,
long time ago.
Swab from green R. Take a look at that and make sure that it properly represents the green, your swab from green marker.
So I wasn't paying attention. What was? These were all blood drops, right? Swabs of possible
It does.
blood sites.
Your Honor, the State Office number 46.
Any objection?
No
Where's
objection.
Camille when we
46
need her?
admitted.
And number 50.
Bueller.
Swab
Bueller.
green,
Yeah, he does have that
D-
voice.
D as in Delta Delta.
Donna, what is your dream car? I mean, I realize there are going to be
It is.
12 cars on there, but which one is your dream car?
Did you say that was 50? I had DD at 50 and already admitted. The only one you don't have is 45, marker J.
I've got this one right now, 45, Your Honor. So
Do they just have
I'm ready for that
duplicate
soon.
evidence?
Okay, but what about that one you just referred to?
Yeah,
as
this is
marker
just a
DD?
formality to get it
What
in.
number
They'll
did you
they'll
have
probably
there?
testify as to
That
what
is
they
Exhibit 50.
what they
And it's
turned
already
up,
been admitted, correct?
That I don't know, Your Honor.
basically whose blood it was.
Sir, 50.
I think I started off with that one, and I think it
Yes.
was already.
He started with 50.
50's
but
been
then
admitted.
went to another number, but it wasn't admitted.
It wasn't?
Was 50 admitted?
50, yes, it is. Yes, it is, I'm sorry.
Okay. The only one that I don't have on my list admitted is 45. Did you just move that in, or you're in the process?
I'm in the process, Your Honor. Number 45 from green marker J. Green marker J, the swap from green marker J.
Okay.
Does that accurately represent what it is, swap from green J?
It does. It is.
I haven't seen them. I'm not saying they don't exist,
45,
but
any objection?
I haven't seen.
45 admitted.
I mean, granted, I was following Dean Cummings from the beginning of this trial, so I missed the first little bit of
Now, Mr. Douglas,
court.
did you go to the medical examiner's office on May 28th as part of your duties relating to the autopsy of Kay Baker?
Yes, I actually went the next day, May 29th, to the actual autopsy.
The actual, I'm sorry, on May 29th, you were there at May 29th?
Correct.
I'm going to show you what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 29.
You need the
Tank top
chauffeur, huh?
From Kay Baker, if you would take a look at that, tell me if it,
Donna says dream car, 1963 Ferrari 250 Di Lusso. Oh man,
came in back in May of 2010.
that comes with a price tag, Donna. They don't give those away anymore.
Yes, it is.
So what is this?
Now, the state offers 29.
Any objection?
No objection.
29 admitted.
They're not objecting because their whole defense is that it wasn't me. They're not saying that this isn't what happened. They're
30.
saying it wasn't me.
The blue jean pants from Kay Baker. That came from the medical
Okay.
examiner's office.
So here's
Take a look at that.
here's her clothing. No gloves, once again.
And is
Since
that
I
what
kept
it is
this
in
away
the
from
same
me.
conditions when you obtained it?
Yes, it is.
State offers number 30.
Any objection to 30?
No objection.
30 admitted.
A couple of you have some good taste in cars. I like the Trans Ams. Oh, just lost the audio. They're conferring amongst themselves again.
All right. Next, I have 31. Right-hand fingernail clippings from Kay Baker. Number 31, if you would take a look at that, if you need to open up the packaging.
Gilly Harper, that song just popped in my head. It wasn't me.
Look at the packaging and it confirms that fact. Let us know what you want to do.
Okay.
Is that the,
Yes, that's the clippings from the right hand.
from the right hand of Kay Baker?
Yes, sir.
Nail
State offers number
clippings.
31, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
31 admitted.
1915 Model T.
Number 32,
That's going way back.
left-hand nail clippings from Kay Baker.
I wouldn't mind owning one, but I don't think I'd like driving one. They were not the most comfortable, nor the most fun to drive. I have found a Model T
Okay.
key
And
with when
you
metal
recognize
detecting.
it?
That was
do.
pretty
Is that what
cool.
it is?
Yes, sir.
State offers number 32.
Any objection?
No objection.
32 admitted.
And number 3 is the swab from Kay Baker's neck.
3.
I'm sorry, 33, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Man, you guys have such better first cars than me. 1969 Camaro 350. I had a 1977 Ford Country Squire station wagon with fake wood paneling. That was my first car. That was what I drove to high school with studded snow tires, I might add. Brown in color. It
And
was
is that
everything
the
you could
swab
imagine that to be.
Taken from Kay Baker.
Yes, it is.
State offers 133, right?
Any objection?
No objection.
33 admitted.
They said they were going to try to get through 9 witnesses today.
Mr. Douglas, did you perform any
But-
other duties or responsibilities relating to this?
We know they have at
investigation?
least 2 more
I
on
did not.
Monday. They're going to try to get done on the state side by
Thank you, Mr.
about
Douglas. I have no
lunchtime.
further questions from this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Hey, we haven't heard from her.
Good afternoon, Mr. Douglas.
Good afternoon.
Now, when you first arrived at the scene, you said that you were taking over for crime scene Janicek that was already there.
Yes, that's correct.
And the detective that was present, the crime scene detective at that time, was Detective Van Gelder.
You know it.
Yes, that's correct.
Did that detective remain with you, or did another detective come and join you while you were out there?
Detective Van Goder stayed for a short while, then he was actually relieved by Detective Davis.
And were you the only crime scene tech at that point when Janicek left, or did Durr come at the same time that you arrived?
He arrived a short time, I don't remember how long, but a short time after I arrived.
Oh,
And
yeah.
was CSI Durr
Um,
involved at all in the interior of the home, in the backyard area that you saw the photographs for?
Not in the interior. He did an initial walkthrough with me of the backyard, and then we kind of split apart after that.
And you would agree that at the time that you're arriving and documenting the
Want to hear
scene,
this? Sorry.
it is the scene as you observed it at that time.
Correct.
So anything that may have happened prior to your arrival as far as contaminating the scene, walking through the scene, things like that, you don't have any knowledge of that personally.
Correct. That's correct.
You are relayed at times certain information like if HCSO broke open a door like they did in this case.
Correct.
Okay.
It's
And
the
so you're
sheriff's office.
documenting all the damage, whether it's relevant to the criminal investigation or not.
Correct.
And when you go out and you document crime scenes, you all are documenting more versus less because you want to gather the information that's there and the evidence that's there at that time.
Correct.
Are you involved at all with trying to search the brush area for any potential weapon?
I am not.
Did you ever go into that brush area or into the area where CSI Durr went to document?
Not that I recall.
When you all were out there, did you ever observe any potential footprint evidence?
I personally did not.
Now, have you been out to crime scenes before where you've had that type of evidence?
Sure.
And are there measures that you can take to try to document that and preserve a potential footprint that might be in a crime scene?
Yes, the main one that comes to mind, you can photograph it.
And then you can also sometimes cast it.
Correct.
Okay, and you've done both of those throughout your time as a crime scene investigator?
I have.
And so in this case, when you went and walked in the area, there were no footprint evidence that you may have either photographed or scaled like you did.
Julia,
with
this is a
blood
crime scene
evidence
investigator,
or
state's
cast.
witness,
Yes, I did not.
who
There
basically
were other ways
documented
that you all attempted
the
to
crime
document
scene.
the scene using Faro.
He's on
Is
cross
that
right now.
Well, we started using Faro, and then ultimately decided to stop.
And tell the jury what Faro is.
Faro is a 3D laser scanner, so it basically has the capability to take multiple scans of the scene to capture a 3D point cloud so you can kind of fly through the scene.
And in this case, you all attempted to do that, but you weren't able to do it because of the scanner?
No, so initially we had planned on doing Faro scans. So right before Dr. Perkins arrives, the medical examiner, I had started scanning around the body just so we can capture that area before the decedent was moved. And then once Dr. Perkins left, there was a discussion, and ultimately it was decided that we weren't going to move forward capturing any more Faro scans.
Okay, so although you would have been able to do that, you ended up not going that route.
Correct.
Okay. And there were other areas or ways that you all tried to document the scene by using drone photographs?
Correct.
And what happened with those?
So from what I understand, we did have a deputy with a drone come out and document the scene with his drone, but apparently there was some kind of issue with his the images on his SD card, so those images were lost.
And you were going to use those images in order to create or generate a diagram in this case?
Correct.
And so that prevented you from being able to do that?
Yes, it did.
So we don't
Now,
have
when
any
you were talking
diagrams for that
earlier with the state and seeing the photographs of the evidence markers that were placed down, you said you were using green markers and CSI Durr was using a different color?
Correct. He was using red.
Okay, so he's using red and you're using green, and so that would just annotate to the jury at this point that that just happened to be the markers that you all put down.
Correct. Yeah.
There was no other significance to them other than you were the one.
Okay, so I'm
documenting
intrigued by this. You guys are
Yes,
listing the
just
names of your cars in chat, and I name my cars as well. As a matter of fact, I have one car that we named Chip because it has a paint chip on the hood when we bought it. It was a used car, and then I got another car that's a smaller version of the same vehicle. I mean, it's also an SUV type, but it's a smaller car. Same color, just looks like a mini Chip. And so, of course, we called it Dale. So we have Chip and Dale.
Have follow through with as far as if you collect items of evidence at the scene and then you take them back to your office that you may process further.
Yes, potentially.
Did you all end up processing the window screen that was located outside of the residence?
Not to my knowledge. I know I did not. To my knowledge, I don't believe it was.
Did you all dust that area for fingerprints or for potential fingerprints?
I know I did not. I don't recall anybody doing that, though.
Did you swab that area for potential DNA evidence like you swabbed all the other areas?
We did not.
And when you were looking at before in State's photograph 40F, the dishwasher, now when you arrived at the scene, was the dishwasher in that state, meaning the door open and the drawers pulled out?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And was it your understanding that that was done by either the crime scene detective or Janicek at the time when they were looking for potential evidence?
To my knowledge, wasn't aware of anybody who did that. That was just how I found it when I got there.
Okay, so if that was done, like the other things that may have been done prior to your arrival, you don't have any independent knowledge of that. That's just how it was observed at the time when you arrived.
Correct.
And was there any blood evidence that you located inside of the residence?
There was not.
If I could have one moment.
That means she's done. Well, look at the thinker pose from Matthew Terry. They're conferring with him every time or before they say they're done. They're like, is there anything else you want me to ask him? I do want this guy's shirt.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
Nothing further.
Your Honor, thank you.
May this witness be released by the state
Yes, Your Honor.
and the defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You may be released as a witness at this time. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see him leave here. See if we can take a look at the shirt. Oh, thanks, cameraman. We missed it. I'll have to go back and watch. You talk to your car too. Just say the Explorer. Okay, that works. I had a Mercedes, which I bought from a lady. I buy all my cars used. I refuse to pay new prices. I'd rather buy them and then discover what aftermarket features they have that are fun and cost a lot of money to repair. But I bought a Mercedes from this lady, and she called it Mercy. I'm like, no, it's not Mercy. This clearly is a boy, not a girl. So you can't call it a girl's name. And so we renamed it Ben. But I like that car. Let's see. This dude should not even have a knife in his home, let alone a butcher's knife blocks that. There are knives everywhere. You look in this kitchen, anywhere you zoom in, it's like there's some more knives. Some knives here. Dishwasher's full of knives. No shortage of knives. My mom names her car. Currently, she owns Bunty. What kind of car is Bunty, Ashley? Curious.
State, please call your next witness.
Thanks, Miss L, for the shout out.
Calls crime crime scene investigator Durr.
What?
Robert Durr, Your Honor.
Got it.
So we got another CSI coming.
Here he is, 16.
See if he's got the same really cool shirt.
Mr. Durr, good afternoon and welcome, sir.
You can stop wherever you're comfortable.
Come on down to be sworn, wherever you're comfortable. If you'll face me and raise your right hand, please. Thank you. You swear and affirm any testimony you give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
Look at that. Right arm to the square.
The witness chair. Please watch your steps, sir.
Yeah, forensics across the back. Maybe we need one of that.
Chair,
YouTube
go ahead, have a seat,
forensics.
make yourself comfortable. That microphone in front of you is fully adjusted.
Would that be appropriate on the back of a hoodie,
As soon
do you
as you're
think?
ready, I'll let Mr. Dirks proceed.
It'd have to be a black hoodie
You may proceed.
if it
Thank
says
you, Your
forensics on the back, though.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
It's a Mini Cooper.
Robert A. Durr III.
The third.
And what is your profession or employment?
I am a crime scene investigator with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
Tell me about your training and experience qualifies you for your position at the Sheriff's Office.
I watch
I went
YouTube
through
videos.
a college-level program on crime scene investigation. Took me about a year to do that. Once hired, I went through 9 months of on-the-job training, which covers all the basic aspects of crime scene investigations. I've also done advanced courses in shooting reconstruction, firearms, fingerprinting, photography.
And how long have you been
Poll
a
results
crime
are
scene investigator with the
60% say no on the
About 15
name of the
and a
car.
half years.
So this guy's credentials are not
And you draw your attention
impressing
back
me
to May
yet.
28, 2022. Were you
You
asked
basically
to
could say them all in
respond
one
to the
breath,
scene
which is not impressive as far
of
as
an
witnesses go.
investigation on Kite Ridge Drive in Hillsborough County, Florida.
Yes, sir.
And do you recall about what time it was when you arrived
He
there?
puts the headphones on because the microphone up the judge's bench is turned on so he can
And
hear
when you
the
arrived there,
sidebar
did you
discussion,
have
but
any
nobody
discussion
else can. The
with
jury
individuals
can't.
to
That's
determine
why he
what
does
your
it, so he can
responsibilities
participate in
were
that
going to be
without
at that crime
getting
scene?
up and walking up to the judge, which would be a security concern.
CSI Douglas, and then Detective Davis, Kelsey Davis.
And what was it determined to be your responsibility or job there?
To begin with, I was assisting CSI Douglas as he was working on a portion of the scene. And then from there, I broke away and worked a separate portion of the scene.
Did you take any photographs in relation to your responsibilities there that day?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you some photographs, first 51A through double I. If you would leave through A through double I. Have you seen those before?
Yeah, look through the whole batch.
And just to confirm that they accurately depict the scene as you saw it back on May 28, 2022 on Kite Ridge Drive.
Yes.
At this time, the state offers exhibit number 51A through double I.
Any objection?
No objection.
Be admitted.
Please
Permission
don't
to
make us
publish,
watch
Your Honor?
each one.
You may publish.
Oh, there we go. We're going to publish
I want to show
them.
you a couple photographs from these,
Not all of them,
these exhibits. Mr. Durr, just to make sure that
Charlie
we're
says, I can barely name my kids.
oriented geographically. First, let's talk about A.
Right.
Here's A.
Where's the missing
I don't know if
1%?
it's focused in enough. First of all, overall, what is that?
So that's an overall photograph of the backyard area, leading out into a brush area, and in the background is Lithia Pinecrest Road.
All right, so I can see that there's some green cones or markers, and I can see one red marker.
My wife's first car was Betty.
Can you tell us what the distinction is between the green markers and the red markers?
So the green markers were used in the backyard areas on the property. The red markers are what we used when we left the property line and then went down along the roadway.
Okay, and then what were the responsibilities of you in relation to the responsibilities of crime scene investigator Douglas?
I was to document the red markers, and he was to document the green ones.
This backyard is a crime all by itself, just with the lack of upkeep.
And so, Exhibit 51B, that's a close-up of marker A, is that right?
Yes, sure. That's showing the general location of marker A.
Okay, and in that marker A indicates what, if anything, you did with that particular location?
So after photographing it, it appeared to be possible blood. So I collected the leaves that the actual items were on, the possible blood drops were on.
So you collected a leaf from the area of A.
Yes, sir.
Did you take it into evidence?
Yes, sir.
You kept it sealed in sealed condition so that it wouldn't, its integrity as evidence would not be disturbed.
Yes, sir.
Now, in the process of your work in this case, were there other red markers that were placed in the area that you've described?
Yes, sir.
The wooded area back in the Lithia Pinecrest?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you photograph double E. If you would take a look at double E. And give us an idea what that depicts.
So on the left-hand side of the photo, you see red marker D, and that's aiming then towards the right-hand side. You can see Lithia Pinecrest in the back, and that was the location of red marker E.
Okay. And so the backyard of 6207, 6209, if you're looking at that picture, would be to the right or to the left?
It would be to my left.
Your left.
With the pace that this is going, I don't think the jury's going to want to stay late tonight. I anticipate that we've got about 40 minutes left, and they're going to say, please, let us go home. Let us sleep. Because,
with marker E.
This is mind-numbingly slow.
And do the rest of the photographs in
Stay
exhibit
safe,
number
Lori.
51 also coincide with the scenes from that same general area with your red markers that you placed in the area that you collected leaves as evidence?
I'm not sure if anyone has jurisdiction in that jungle they were showing. That's pretty wild territory.
All right, number 66. I'm going to have you actually do the same thing. There's some photographs at 66A through double R. A through double R. If you would take a look at A through double R. Have you seen these photographs before? I just want to make sure that.
Oh, man.
Make sure that.
Who was in charge of the camera at the crime scene?
The scene.
Clearly, they weren't paying for
that you were
film.
working on May 28th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
And they do.
This is the problem when you have a digital camera where you can just take all the pictures you want.
66A through
You
double
take
R.
too many pictures. You really do. Because it doesn't cost you anything. And clearly, these crime scene investigators were a little trigger happy with the camera.
Be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Commissioner Publisher.
You may. Just give me the number again. The number again?
I'm sorry, 66A through double R.
Golden Mom, let me go back and look. I might have missed it here. Oh, been on the market 25 days. Tell me. Okay, so 6207 is the neighbor's house, because this happened at 6209. But that's included in the crime scene.
Orient us, if you would, with.
I think they have a shared
66B.
backyard. Like no fence
What
between the
does it
two.
show?
So I am on
How much is it selling for?
Lithia Pinecrest side of
Do
the
you
wood
hit
line,
Zillow or something for that?
wood line brush area. And that would be facing kind of south.
Okay, and Exhibit C. is
See you,
that
Lori.
the
Thanks for
same
being here.
area?
Stay safe.
Yes, sir. I'm just moving a little further down.
Okay, and I see there's an evidence marker there.
Yeah.
Can you see which evidence marker?
That's where I need to
it is?
metal detect, right in there.
Believe
I'll
that
just
is,
crawl through on my
F.
belly looking for a knife.
F.
Yeah, and that's marker F. Do you remember what F had in relation to this investigation?
I know there was a potential blood drop
Okay.
in that area.
And do you recall whether or not any
Somewhere in there was a
G9
blood drop,
put out,
but you couldn't find the knife?
Try to apprehend a suspect earlier before your arrival?
That was before my arrival, but that's what I was explained to me, yes, sir.
Okay.
No, they did not find the knife, Roxanne. They think they know which knife it is. They think it's this one that I have right here, or a version of it. It's a like a bird beak style 3-inch long knife.
I want to show you what it has been
from the
marked
butcher
for
block
identification
in the kitchen.
is, what has been admitted as
The
exhibit
knife block.
66N. Would you look at 66N and tell me if you can identify 66N? You zoom out.
He's like, nope, doesn't look familiar at all.
66N?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
So that is the area where the blood trail area kind of stopped and turned into the wood line. You can see the guy wires from a telephone pole on the right-hand side. And in the back, you can see a fence area from one of the other backyards.
I've got my orders from
And
2
our
cents.
evidence markers G, H, I, and so on in that photograph as well.
Yes, sir.
And along with that, I want to show you what has been marked marked as 66S. If you
Debbie,
would
a
take
lot
look
of
at
them do,
66S,
but,
and tell me what that is.
honestly,
That is the,
it takes
bloodstain
years
area at Red Marker.
of practice to really to get good
And we
with
saw
it.
a
Especially when you're looking for a
photograph
specific
before
type
and
of
the last
target.
photograph.
Yes, sir.
It's easy to run a metal
And the
detector and just look for
66T,
metal.
66T,
But there's so much metal in the ground. Sometimes when you're looking for a specific target, you have to know how to tune your metal detector and set it up so that you can hear very sensitive changes in its behavior and its responses. A lot of times the police officers that I've seen using that, they get it out of the box and they do it like twice,
rest of the
twice a
photographs
year.
in
They'll
exhibit number
test the metal
66,
detector and they'll turn it on, wave it
also
around. I'm like, I don't know,
indicate
it's
areas that were
beeping, but I
marked
can't
by
see
you,
anything.
and
So
that,
it just takes
believes that you
a degree of specialized skill that a lot of officers don't have time to commit to, considering all the other things they do.
see it.
Stay safe, Ann. It's a little windy out there.
And is 66 double I the same depiction? Those are your markers?
Yes, sir.
I love it. Knives are included. Shauna, there's a ton of blood. They literally followed a blood trail all the way around. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, missing one
All right,
knife,
Mr.
fresh paint.
Durr,
Won't last long.
you mentioned that you took swabs you took into evidence leaves relating to the evidence markers in red that you have demonstrated, that you've told us about in these photographs. I want you to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 52.
This lawyer's voice matches his clothing choice today. He's wearing a gray suit with a gray tie. It's as plain as can be. I wish he would just spice it up just a little bit, both his
If this
appearance and
is-
the sound of his voice.
this relates
It
to
says me, who's
that,
talking almost in a monotone.
red marker
but,
that you-
but man, this is getting a little hard to listen to. Neighbors called 911. They went out and found her,
Yes,
and
sir.
they say they didn't even recognize her
And you see
because of the amount of blood and everything.
Yes, sir.
This appeared to be the same condition today as when you sealed it back.
And she was expiring, I
Yes, sir.
believe, when they came out.
Any objection?
There was no
52 admitted.
resuscitation that could be done.
Now, at the conclusion.
Shauna,
or
I
at
believe the
end of
blood we have here
investigation, did you
is his
assist
blood.
Your fellow officers in an
Is
attempt
Matthew's
to
blood,
try to
not
locate,
hers. Although
Any-
some of the
any
drips
sharp
might have been
weapon
her blood
or an
that
object
dripped
might
off
be
him.
Involved in this investigation.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about those efforts and what you did.
We searched the area in that wood line
With a metal detector?
until it was areas where I could no longer fit. It was too dense for me to get into. Looking through the grass, looking up into the trees areas to see if anything might have gone up, down. I had no other detectives searched backyards while I was searching that other area.
Can you give us an idea, using that spot of blood that you talked about before, that was marked, using that as a reference point, can you give us an estimate as to the area that you attempted to search in that wooded area for a sharp object?
So it would have been around the area where we saw, I believe it was O and N. We saw the black metal fence along that area. It was pretty much the whole back side of that yard, and then the yard next to it. Obviously, it's on the back side of the fence in the wood line. To the north of that area, it got pretty dense where I was no longer able to get in there.
So you weren't able, because of that, you weren't able to search that area?
Correct.
You have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Burr, I have no further questions of this witness.
Cross-examination?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There was a blood trail along the fence line between the two residences, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a second blood trail along the back edge of the property line, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And a third blood trail that went straight across to the decedent's residence.
Yes, ma'am.
3 blood trails.
Yes, ma'am.
And you indicated that a metal detector was used in order to look for a sharp object. Just to be clear, the area that was searched was the area where Matthew Terry was found injured, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Could I just have a moment?
I didn't use the metal detector though.
Oh, certainly, but you were there.
That's the area I searched. Yes, ma'am.
And you're aware that metal detectors were used to try to find something in the area where Matthew Terry was found,
Yes, ma'am.
and none was found.
Not that I know of. No, ma'am.
If I could just have one moment?
Absolutely.
That means they're done. So metal detector was used. What she got out of them there is basically
Any redirect? Absolutely.
the idea that there was nothing found because he didn't have it. It wasn't him.
Trail, when you said that there were 3 trails in that backyard, how are you using that term trail?
So a trail to me is just an area where droplets are found. So it's just our way of determining or delineating different markers. So as we came in with the markers, it's just an area. So if we knew one started and came across the yard, we tried to follow that one. Anything that came down the fence line, we tried to follow. Anything that left the property then was just another area.
Are you suggesting that is a specific designation of where someone walked?
Just possibly somebody walked through there, but we don't know and what.
So when you use the term trail, it connotes that you have possibly indicated there were 3 separate and distinct trails that you determined were involved in this investigation. Is that what your testimony is?
We don't know how many were involved. We're just saying it was just different areas.
Could be the same person with the same trail making 2 different trails.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained as to speculation.
Do you have any idea if someone was running and
I got your
throwing off
email.
blood,
Thank you very much.
Are you saying that you have, based upon what you observed, a definite notion that those 3 trails are 3 separate trails?
Objection would call for a blood spatter examination.
That's
Hold on. Approach.
Okay, so the defense would like everyone to think that there are 3 different people who ran away different areas. So it'd be very convenient if it's left just with the idea that there were three separate blood trails. They could very well have been one person that left all three trails, because they're just different areas where bleeding occurred and showed up on the ground. So yes, they did use metal detectors, probably incorrectly, and arguably only searching the area where the body was is an amateur move. You really need to search the entire area and as far away as someone could throw a similar weighted and size and shaped object. So it's a much broader search area. When I'm searching for, like, say, a lost ring, somebody loses a wedding ring when they're playing baseball. You basically get a junk ring that's very similar, and you have them throw it as far as they can, and it's surprising how far it can go. And really, that's the idea. You try to recreate that same scenario to see how far that could possibly be, and you grid that off, and then you search that area. And I'm very good at finding lost items. I wonder if defense is going to argue he was a victim in the attack as well as by some stranger. I believe they will, 100%. It's definitely a wasn't me idea. Churchy, here's the one sentence synopsis on this case. Yeah, 3 blood trails would be 3 individuals. Did they do the blood test? Was there enough blood that they could test it and see if it was a single person? Yeah, her student, she was a 3rd grade math teacher. But that's about as relevant as the fact that Dean Cummings was a skier. It's just one of the facts of the case, but it's not really one of the evidential facts of the case. Joe Friday says, I almost bought a metal detector, but now I don't know what I would do with thousands of pull tabs. Well, you do what I do. You keep them in buckets.
Right, Mr. Durr, on cross-examination, you followed the suggestion that there were 3 separate trails. What I want you to do is explain what it is that you observed out there at the scene which caused you to conclude, if you did conclude, that there were 3 separate and distinct trails.
So we had the one, what I think of as Trail 1, which led from the back of the decedent's residence straight across the backyards, kind of at a diagonal up to the area where the decedent was located. Then I had a secondary one that led from the decedent straight down along the wooden fence line. And then the 3rd trail to me was the trail that left the property, which we showed with the red markers.
Do you know, is there any other facts or circumstances which would lead you to conclude any other information about the trails when they were placed, or any other information other than what you testified about?
No, sir.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
May this witness be released by the state
Yes, Your Honor.
and released by the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Durr, you may step down. You may be released as a witness at this time.
Okay, so we might be done. We've got less than half an hour.
Is the other witness here?
He's here. Right here.
All right, I'll ask you to call your next witness.
Okay, we're going ahead.
Call Detective Anthony Watson.
Anthony Watson.
Debbie, the rings that I sent you were just found incidentally while I was searching other areas, whether it was parks or the beaches or things like that. Those 14 have been found in playgrounds, soccer fields, and they're ones that I posted online. I tried to return to the owners, and I didn't get any hits on trying to return them. So when I couldn't return them, I put them up for a prize. I'm glad you got them. I think OJ went to jail for like a kidnapping charge or something,
raise
right?
your right hand, please. Thank you. Do you swear affirm
Or assault or
testimony
something.
given this proceeding to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do, sir.
Thank you. Check if you'll follow the bailiff down to the ramp that leads up to the witness chair. Please watch your step. Go ahead and have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. That microphone in front of you is fully adjustable.
Yeah, Rich, you're right. It was armed robbery. He was trying to steal back memorabilia that was,
Good afternoon.
he says,
Good
was stolen from
afternoon.
him.
Detective, if you would, please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good afternoon. My name is Detective Anthony Watson with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
Detective Watson, how long in total have you been with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
27 years.
What is your current assignment with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
I'm assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division, Homicide Section, but I'm attached to the State Attorney's Office as a liaison.
He's
Let me be
attached.
clear then.
That means his
Do you work
Facebook
for
status
the
is
Sheriff's
complicated.
Office, or do you work for my office, the Office of the Prosecutor, the State Attorney?
So I work for the Sheriff's Office. What I am is kind of a go-between between the State Attorney's Office and the Sheriff's Office. I kind of assist with court matters to make sure that deputies arrive on time to their court stuff, to make sure that they get their notifications, things like that, to make jobs easier between the State Attorney's Office and the Sheriff's Office.
Am I your boss?
No.
Is my boss your boss?
No.
Okay. I want to ask you, before you became the liaison between the Sheriff's Office and the State Attorney's Office, what were you doing?
I was a homicide detective within the criminal investigation.
This knife is a serrated
Still
knife.
I'm
Not sure if you can see it there, right there. It's a curved serrated knife, like a paring knife. It's used for like fruits and vegetables. So it's not a fillet knife. It does have a little hook on it, but this is basically what they're saying was the knife that was missing out of the block.
That involved a defendant by the name of Matthew Terry. Were you asked to assist Detective Kevin Ratu with obtaining a buckle sample from the defendant?
I was, sir.
And just so we know who you're talking about, do you see the person you came to know as Matthew Terry here in the courtroom?
I do, sir.
Could you please point to him and describe what he's wearing so I know exactly who it is you're talking about?
He's the gentleman that's sitting at the table to my right wearing the light-colored suit, blue shirt, blue tie, and the dark-rimmed glasses.
Your Honor, I'd ask the record reflects to identify the defendant. The record shall so reflect.
Did it make
Now,
him stand
Detective,
up?
before we get into this, let's just talk about what is a buckle sample and how does one obtain that?
So a buccal swab is essentially, I'll make it in layman terms, it's a long Q-tip that we usually take and we insert inside of whoever we're trying to get the buccal swab from. We insert it inside their mouth, rub it vigorously on both cheeks, and what we're trying to do is get some skin cells and some saliva on the long Q-tip. It's about a 6-inch long Q-tip.
I think the address is 6209.
Do you do the DNA comparison yourself?
6207.
No, we do not.
All right, so you just go to where the defendant is,
Make me.
pull out your Q-tip,
Make me. That's
swab
what I
it
say,
against
2
the
cents.
mouth,
Make
and
me.
then impound that item. Is that correct?
That's pretty much it, sir.
Since you're attempting to obtain DNA, do you take any steps or precautions to make sure that you're not collecting anybody else's DNA other than the defendant?
Yes, sir. The swabs that we use, they're sealed inside of a small envelope.
We don't reuse the
Before
swabs.
I take the buccal swab, I'll put on a fresh set of gloves, make sure that the swab envelope is opened, it's removed, placed directly inside the mouth, vigorously rub it for about 10 seconds on both sides of the mouth.
Okay, so
place it
maybe I'm
back
wrong on
inside
that
the
one.
envelope,
Thank you,
and then
Goldmont,
I
for the
place
correction.
it inside an additional envelope as well before it's impounded.
All right, so the buccal sample, other than whatever contact it makes with the envelope it comes in and goes back into, doesn't have contact with anything except a person's mouth.
That's correct, sir.
And you wear gloves through the entirety of the process?
Yes, sir.
Even when you put it into another envelope and ultimately impound it?
Yes, sir.
Your
Are
Honor,
you
can
going
I-
to wear gloves when you open it?
Detective, I want to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit number 63. Did you have a chance to look at this just a few minutes ago?
I did, sir.
And what is that?
This is the envelope containing the buccal swab that I obtained on August 31st from the defendant.
Now, it's just so there's no confusion. You're holding there kind of an orangey colored envelope. Is that the envelope you're talking about the swab goes into?
No, sir. If you'll give me one moment.
I've brought one here. They're heavy. Oh, here we go. We have gloves. We have gloves. I was saying this might be a little uncomfortable.
The actual envelope
Oh, we have one
is
glove.
inside this larger envelope.
The glove doesn't fit. You can barely get it over his
This is the envelope
fingers.
here that I put it inside of. So the buccal swab itself is contained within this envelope. This envelope is then taken to our evidence control section.
Those are size
placed
small
inside
gloves.
the larger envelope where it's sealed, used for transport purposes.
All right, so for ease of description, I'm going to call it big envelope and little envelope. Is
Um,
there anything about
that's a little
big
technical for
envelope
me.
that in some way tells you that that is exactly the item that you ultimately impounded after taking a buccal sample from the defendant?
There is, sir. This is the evidence control section identifier, which has the case number on there, as well as the identification that I put on it, which was the swab taken from Matthew Terry on the date. And then on the back side would be my initials as well as my ABN, which is my identifier.
And so what date is identified there as the date that you impounded this item?
August 31st, 2022, sir.
And is that the same day that you obtained the buccal sample, meaning you actually swabbed the Q-tip on the inside of the defendant's mouth?
It is, sir.
Now, as far as the envelope inside, the little envelope, how do you know that that's the right envelope?
So this envelope has my handwriting on the outside of it here in red. It has the defendant's name, Matthew Terry. I also placed his date of birth as it was provided to me on that date verbally, and then I compared it on his wristband that he was wearing at that date. I put the case number on it as well as the location I took it, which was courtroom 16 located downstairs in this building.
All right, so you actually came to court and met with the defendant when he was in court appearing in front of another judge with his attorneys?
That's correct, sir.
All right, and so other than the fact that that packaging now has red tape that indicates it says something about FDLE, whatever FDLE may be, is there anything about either of those packages that suggests that they have been tampered with or otherwise molested since you originally created them?
None whatsoever, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I would move into evidence what has been pre-marked as State's Exhibit number 63.
Any objection to 63? 63 will be admitted at this time.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Detective, any reason to believe, and again, you're not a DNA analyst, so you don't know if there's DNA here or not, but any reason for you to believe that if there is DNA on this, there's anybody's DNA other than the person whose mouth it came out of?
None whatsoever, sir.
I don't have any questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination?
Just one question, just because of the way it was asked. When you said in front of another judge, it was an earlier hearing in this case, not some separate case, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
May this witness be released by the state
Yes, Your Honor.
and
Thank
by
you.
the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Detective. You may step down. You may be released as a witness at this time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let me have the attorney.
Started a new poll when I think I broke chat in the process. What does FDLE stand for? I think I did break chat, so I'm going to stop that and go back to live chat. Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I was hoping for wrong answers only. I should have said that earlier on. Let's go ahead and re-answer that question. Wrong answers only. What does FDLE stand for? I know a couple of you, because of the delay, will still come in with the right answer, and that's very, very good of you. But
I'm not going to start a long witness now. It's been a long day for you, and the weather is probably getting worse outside. I have not had a chance. I've been a little busy, so I haven't had a chance to watch the news or any reports. But again, we are closed here tomorrow, and we are closed for the holiday on Friday. Then, of course, we're closed on Saturday and Sunday. So you get a 4-day weekend. We're not going to see you back until Monday. But we are still on track to finish.
Look at the
next
car.
week.
The judge has a little car up on the
Avoid any
bench.
reports of this case outside of the courtroom. Please do not talk about this case with anyone. Please do not do research related to this case. Please have a safe day tomorrow in light of the tropical storm, whatever that brings us. Please have an enjoyable holiday on Friday, a nice weekend, and then we will see you back here on Monday morning. We'll bring you into the courtroom at 9 a.m. Again, thank you all very much for your patience, your time, and your service. All rise for the jury.
These are good. These are good. Finally done. Love everyone. Oh man. Okay, so the jury gets a break. We'll be back tomorrow. The jury's getting a break because of that. We might take a look, just a very quick look at some of the other cases that are going on. We might talk about Pike
Jury
County.
has exited. Everyone may be seated.
Looks like we have a little bit of business still to talk about.
Where are we on it? I know you're talking to the clerk about evidence.
I believe I have 4 pieces of evidence left. There is the defendant shorts, which is the detective or 2, the text message.
Wait, give me the numbers.
55 and 56. Those are both detective or 2.
Okay, did 54 come in?
54 is the screenshot that came in through Kelly Andrews. It was the
Oh, it was early. It was early.
I call it screenshots, but they're actually pictures.
Okay.
And so 55, 56, 64, and 65, which is Anapolis.
Okay, yep, I've got, that's consistent with what I have.
Yes.
Is that a Tesla, that car on the bench?
Is there anything we can do
Does-
or
does
talk
the
about
judge drive a
to
Tesla?
expedite things? Mr. Diaz, I know that you indicated at the bench that you were now a little bit behind.
I think he meant to say bench there.
Well, unfortunately, we knew we were not going to be here working on Friday, but unfortunately now we're taking Thursday
I
off.
understand that. I have the remaining 4 witnesses. I will, I'll have actually more than witnesses, but I have all the remaining witnesses.
You expect, though, to rest then on Monday?
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good.
Um,
So just be ready. I know there were other potential witnesses.
I wanna hear the
besides
schedule
defendant.
here, so
I don't
just one
want
second.
To talk to him until the last possible opportunity to see if he wants to testify or not. I know that you submitted some jury instructions. Just start looking at them because things will pick up quickly next week. So I don't want any last minute. If you see anything, let them know. If you have any additional that you'll be requesting, also let them know.
Certainly.
All right.
Your Honor, I don't believe defense filed a trial witness list. I know that they provided me a guilt phase witness list as part of discovery, basically.
I know they read a list during jury selection.
Yeah, they didn't read any names that were different. I just wanted to confirm.
Well,
that
you
that's
said
true.
that they did. You said that 3 of the names that they read were names you hadn't heard of before.
Those were witnesses that they added for penalty phase, it
Okay.
turned out.
Okay.
There were 3 deputies that they added to their list of penalty phase, which were added that morning. They're not guilt phase, so
Alright.
that's why I didn't bring
Alright.
that issue up again.
So are you requesting a list of potential witnesses?
I would like to know. I mean, I've got 4 days of.
I did file one, but it wouldn't be anybody that wasn't already on the list.
So there is a defense witness list.
Yes.
Not a trial witness list. There's a witness list they provided, like discovery witness list. It just says guilt
All right,
phase.
but they're saying it's the same.
I got it. I understand.
Witness.
Just confirming.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so they do have witnesses
Anything
to call.
What time do you want us here Monday?
Same time. We'll try to get started at 9. So if y'all want to get here.
Okay, so it'll be early.
8:45. But I don't think we don't have anything to discuss like we did this morning. There's no reason to specifically come in before that, but I like to see your faces and make sure everybody's here a little while before the jury.
And
Did you say 8:30 or 8:45?
No. We're going to start at 9, so I mean 8:45ish is more than good enough.
Okay.
it would be my request that if the defense is going to ask for any instructions different than what is already in the packet, for them to let me know that I can work on them over the weekend, because obviously I'm just going to be burning through witnesses on Monday. I can't exactly be sitting altering instructions at that point.
Well,
Debbie, when
if
we show
we're
the
in a
judge,
situation where I
it's
have to give you
the
time,
far
I would
right-hand
like
side of the
them
screen. You
to
can just
take
see
a
the
look
part of
and
the back
see,
tire, the back of the car.
Obviously, if,
We think it's a Tesla
for
Model
whatever
X.
reason they don't. I'm sure they'll try, but if they don't, it won't be the end of the world. I'll give you as much time as you need, Mr. Diaz.
Yes, sir.
I promise.
Okay, so I think we've got everything we need from the
Stay
judge
safe
here.
tomorrow. Enjoy the holiday. Have a nice weekend, and I'll see you here on Monday.
Okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
the only thing exception I take to what the judge said is it's not just a holiday. It's Veterans Day, and this is a day where we honor those who have served, both those who are still with us and those who have passed on. I've got friends and family in both of those categories, and I'd be remiss without saying thank you for your service, thank you for the freedoms that you fought for and put your life on the line. We have people from multiple countries that I know that celebrate it differently, but I appreciate everyone who has served. Thank you very much. Let's see. We are going to go back here because we're all done. What's going to happen tomorrow? I'm going to leave the chat going here for a little bit, as we've got some people trying to get in Discord. If you saw in the chat here, this Toxic Orchid 71 posted a link. Just scroll up to till you find it. If you want to participate in the Discord that Toxic Orchid has, it is amazing. He has done just a ton of work to put every trial, every true crime situation, breaking news, upcoming things, scheduling it, documents. It's all there, and it's easy to search. It's amazing. I think we'll spend a lot of time there, and it'll just be it'll be a lot of fun. It can really get you up to speed on some cases, especially if you haven't followed it very much, and it might make you aware of a few that you didn't know were coming up that you want to be that you want to follow with us. So, Toxic Orchid, thank you so much for opening your Discord to the crew. And I'm glad we can participate there. So the the 4-digit number thing, what that's referring to is the name of the code, the number attached to your Discord name. But if you just click on the link that Toxic Orchid has submitted in chat, I think it will get you in. You don't need to provide the number. That's my understanding anyway. Donna, I should put a poppy on the screen. I don't have any poppies here, or a picture of a poppy even.
I think they're from different jurisdictions.
You know that voice.
Yes, I do.
Let's see. Let's see. Tomorrow we are going to meet together in the morning. We'll do our morning show. I'll check and see if there's something we want to stream during the day. We probably won't. We're probably going to give everybody a vacation. I will not be streaming Friday morning unless something big happens on Thursday. So I think everyone can just take a little break, spread the news, get some yard work done. Go put some flags on in a cemetery. Hang a flag at your house if you can. Thank a veteran. Buy a veteran lunch. Buy a veteran dinner. Buy him breakfast. And if you can't find a veteran to do that too, just find somebody to smile at and thank them and have a conversation with somebody you normally wouldn't talk to. Just do something good on that day. A lot of people made a huge sacrifice for the freedoms we enjoy, and the best way we can honor them is by improving our situation, our communities, serving a little bit where we can. Let's see. You guys are awesome. Yes, you can sleep in. I'll let you sleep in. We will be back. Saturday is going to be our uplifting Saturday. Abby sent me a little article we might share about some good news out of the UK. I'm waiting for a mail delivery from an organization I've told you about before. Crisis Cleanup. It's one I've been associated with related to hurricane cleanup in a couple different hurricanes. So we might share that as well if the material arrives that I'm waiting for them from. So yeah, we'll have something good to talk about. We'll have a good Saturday, something positive. Shane says not allowed to hang flags here. Government buildings only. Understand. I know some people depend on where you live and the rules. Whether it's a housing organization like an HOA or something, that's not an option. But if you're able to, if you wear a sticker or something like that, or a pin, that would be great and appropriate. Not a poppy, but we'll take the rose. Thanks, Cakes Boo. Why am I Kool-Aid Man? Debbie? What did I do? Why am I Kool-Aid Man? Oh yeah. That's why. Let's see. Great show. Thank you for your time and knowledge. You guys provide the knowledge. Mostly I'm just repeating what somebody else has told me. I feel like I learn so much from you guys every time I'm here. It's wonderful to have you all here. Let's see. I think that's good. We have to have some outro music. I'm not sure whose turn it is to pick. Speak it, Scott. I'm not sure whose turn it is to pick the music on the way out. Bank 1 or Bank 2 and choose a color. That's how it goes. I'll watch for the first one. So the person who's most up to date on the live feed, closest to real time as they're watching, will probably win. So we'll just check that out. Let's see. Hugs to everyone from Abby. Thank you, Abby. Appreciate you, as always, for being here. You guys are amazing. I love my UK fans. Ireland, UK, Scotland. We sent a mug to Australia, I believe, this last week. It might take a little bit to get there, but we did have one sent over there, and it's exciting that the mugs are going around. Let's see. She, not he. Toxic Orchid. Did I call you a he? That's a slip of the tongue. I do apologize. We'll have to talk as well about possibly a voice chat, Orchid. I wonder if that's an option. I don't want you to incur any cost to enable that on your Discord, but I'm wondering, maybe it's somewhere that I just haven't found. Let's see. Who? Shane. Shane, I think you were first. Did anyone come before Shane? Shane says 2 yellow. Bank 2 yellow is top down. So we'll give this a play. This is going to be our outro music today. appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you for subscribing. It's wonderful to see that number going up. We're spreading the word. They are going all over the world. It's so neat. It's hard to fathom that people all over the world might like to sit here and talk together with us, but it's really neat. It's a small world after all, right? Thank you. You guys are all amazing. Stay safe. Especially if you're in the hurricane path. I'll probably get it this weekend, but it shouldn't be bad here. So don't worry about me. We'll have a little bit of rain. I'm all set on Discord, but have to be settled with the weather getting nasty. Bye, Scott, everyone, and do stay safe. I appreciate the updates from you as well. Shane, keep Island safe for us. Ferry, you can be in Discord forever. There's so much information there. He's done such a good job on that. I'm super excited about that. All right, we're winding down here, so thank you, everybody. We will talk to you in the morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. It'll be just a fun one, and maybe something during the day. We'll see what's up. But stay safe. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.